tab here.
All right,
Well,
and I
mm,
can share it here too. So I've got the.
well, yeah, I got it, but it's just a matter of like kind of
Oh, you
seeing
better
maybe some
for
of
you
the
to
list.
read it there.
Yeah,
And I think yes, and we
have
are
fun.
live. Here we are in our
Hey, hey,
impromptu kind of last minute thrown together because I looked at my schedule and going, this is the only time this week I could talk
Oscars, Schmoskers.
Oscars.
Yeah.
And as much as the Oscars are a chagrin. Well, first off, let me introduce you. You've heard his voice before on Earth's Mightiest Critics on Mr. Ian Kicking the Seats podcast. The wonderful, insightful, entertaining,
Oof.
none other than Mr. Don Shanahan.
Hello,
Hello,
folks. How
Don.
you doing? This will be fun tonight.
This is gonna be a fun. This is gonna be a fun conversation tonight. Now, as I let Don know, I've
Mhm.
managed to avoid anything about Oscars
You're a
this
better man
whole
than me.
day. This whole day, and it's been morning. It's been like all day, and I'm like, just as I was scrolling through Facebook, the minute I saw the word Oscar, I just like keep scrolling,
Yep,
keep
yep.
scrolling.
It's
I
been
didn't want to
12
look
plus
at
hours.
anything.
Yeah.
So, folks, what you will be getting tonight live in living YouTube is my actual reactions to a list I have not seen before right now. Now,
So,
Mr. Don,
do you
go
need me
ahead.
to like serve the laundry to you? Like, here, sir, here's the best picture. Would you like blank, blank, blank? You want me to serve these to you? I don't mind.
You don't well, you could, but I do have the list here I could
Okay.
share. So
Okay.
I could share the list as
All right.
well. So
Where do
so
you
we're
want to
just
go
gonna
first?
we're gonna dive right into this tonight, folks,
Okay.
and we're gonna look at. Let's see if I can do this
Oh,
right.
you're
Here we
going that
go.
share. Okay.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah.
crack your knuckles. Here we go.
Here we go. Okay, now let's get all the way down. Where do they put?
They
See, they.
alphabetize it, so it's a little
Oh,
ugly.
it's an alphabetized too.
Well, kind
So
of like writing's
minor.
last.
All right. Well, we're gonna
Yeah.
go from bottom to top. So
Okay.
we'll go that. We'll go that. Okay.
Here
So
we go.
again, and folks who are tuning in, by all means, leave comments if you're
Mhm.
interested as well. I love to hear your input as well and your thought on this. So we've got writing, the original screenplay.
Yeah.
Already, this was a controversial topic because
Yep.
Barbie
You
tried to
heard.
make a case to be original, and the Academy said, "Well, you're based on a doll, so no."
I guess it's like the comic book movie rule where like even if like the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't pulling from a direct story, it's always adapted because it comes from another source. I get it.
Mhm.
It's still a weird little technicality to hit.
It is.
Now, I wonder if Barbie's in the more competitive category because here in original, Anatomy of a Fall, fine foreign film. I mean, very super popular. It's there for good reason. The Holdovers being previous content is I don't know if that I like. I guess I'm trying to say is like the 5 nominees here should be happy if Barbie's gone because
Yeah,
Barbie
that's true.
was a bit of the titan here.
That's
Maestro
true.
is Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer's own
Mhm.
idea, obviously based on a famous person. May December is kind of out of nowhere, coming from Sammy Birch, and then Past Lives. If you ask any of the indie crowd, that's kind of the place to be. So like or
Yeah.
at least that would have been your Oscar frontrunner 6 months ago. But now that we've
Mhm.
reached the end of the year, ooh, how are you
And
feeling about
and
this category?
and out of all of these, I've seen one of them.
All
I've
right,
they're
I've seen
on my
all
list.
five.
Maestro is on my list,
Okay,
as is they're on my list because everybody's talking to them. But
sure,
it's either availability or just time. I haven't had a chance to sit
totally
down.
understand. Yeah,
I probably will sit down and look at Maestro and May
hmm
December in the next week because I think
yeah,
those are on
automatically.
streaming now.
Hmm
Past Lives might be as well. That was like an indie gem as well. That
Yeah,
made
very
indie
much so.
circles
Yeah.
talking about it.
So this is
But
a this category tends to be kind of like I feel like it's a two-horse race because you've got I mean people really 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 love the Holdovers and what Paul Giamatti is doing and kind of the wave of that. You've got a best picture nominee there with the Holdovers. You've got a best picture nominee with Past Lives. The tricky part with Past Lives is the spring stuff. It's that one that's been around since May. I mean, we've seen things like Get Out, things like Everything Everywhere All at Once prevail late, but they need a big surge. And I don't know if Past Lives has it when it's not up for director, it's not up for actress. I think it made the best picture field. We'll get to that. But
really,
I don't know. I feel like two-horse race here, Holdovers and Past Lives, where it's like, do you want the new one? Do you want the old one? I think in Anatomy of the Fall will take a stab at it, but like its proper place to maybe win is in another category where if they're spreading the wealth, it won't be here.
well, I could see holdovers just because that's been kind of the Oscar deer, if you will, the awards
Definitely.
deer
Yeah.
because of Giamatti and his co-star Rudolph Randolph Rudolph
Giamatti and the Dominic Sessa is the young man who plays his little wingman.
the female lead.
Divine Joy Randolph. Yeah.
Randolph. Thank
Yeah.
you, Randolph.
Mhm.
Randolph and Giamatti really
Front runners. Mhm.
add that extra level to that film. And so I
Yeah.
could see the holdovers where the Maestro, it was a little bit not pushed, and Past Lives, you barely hear about it. I mean, the one
Yeah.
thing that's different about, say, the indie gems, especially the ones that I'm sure we'll run into tonight, or even that I know of last
Mhm.
year versus the previous year,
Yeah.
is the previous year, nearly all the indie gems were A24 releases.
Yeah. That's the
And they
thing.
had that juggernaut marketing
Big time.
behind them.
And like Past Lives probably should have received the juggernaut push from A24. And maybe because Celine's song, and it's a first time feature, it's a lady director and lady writer, where this might be, now that Barbie's gone, this might be the one place to give Past Lives something for kind of being that consensus indie darling of the year, where Holdovers will win some acting awards because it's kind of the front runners in some places. Anatomy of Fall might have, best international feature all wrapped up. Maestro and May December just can't hang, where this might be the one spot. Like if I'm putting money down, I'm going to put it on Past Lives.
You're gonna put it,
but this entire category can thank its lucky stars that Barbie's not here, because now that Greta Gerwig, and you'll see this later in the category, now that Greta Gerwig did not get a nomination for either for director, maybe the next category of screenplay is like the one spot to get her, because Barbie's going to win arts and technical, but it's not going to win best picture.
Wow, I didn't.
I'm just saying they like to slot and spread the wealth. So take a look at Adapted.
Little spoiler, yeah. But for adapted screenplay, American Fiction, which I've heard really good things about, I will definitely be seeing it before the Oscars.
Yeah.
Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
Ooh.
Zone of Interest, I haven't seen it, but the things I've heard you guys talk about and read, this is going to be a bit too controversial, I think, to win. It's nominated, but
you're up against, you're up against the two top nominated films with Oppenheimer and Poor Things. So, if the Oppenheimer juggernaut is for real and it just sweeps stuff, Oppenheimer can dominate here. The crazy wild card is indeed Barbie, and that's kind of where I'm kind of hedging this race. Where if Nolan is kind of that front runner for director and Oppenheimer is kind of the front runner for picture, and you're trying to spread the wealth, this could be Barbie. I think American Fiction, the honors to be nominated. I think Jeffrey Wright's more of a chance for the acting category. Poor Things, kind of happy to be there. You can't put that against Barbie and Oppenheimer and expect it to win. And then Zone of Interest, again, between that and Anatomy of the Fall, if you really, really, really want that foreign film to be the one, it might have to settle for foreign film and fight between the two of them. Because we've seen this before, where occasionally there's like one or two foreign films that invade kind of big categories, invade Best Picture, and they're there. They might not win unless you're Parasite, but where maybe that same thing, the honors to be nominated. So I think this is Barbie versus Oppenheimer, where people go chalk, or this is the one spot to get Greta Gerwig.
But if anything, I'm not doing my prediction show yet, folks. We're just going through these. No, you can predict all you want. By all means, please, sir, you give me some insight. But I don't plan on doing my prediction and consequences show till probably a week before the awards. I'm not actually, because I've got a chance to still see some of these. Like last year, I managed to at least watch all the Best Picture ones, which just happened to fall for the other categories, majority of them as well. So, so I'm not making predictions yet, but just from what I've caught in the buzz in that, Poor Things is on here because it was an original, interesting story from what I hear. And I just didn't drive the hour to see it, but Oppenheimer,
by the way.
Oppenheimer's been just driving the awards season, but it's been a juggernaut of power behind it. So, but I wouldn't mind seeing Barbie. I loved Barbie. Our whole family loved Barbie.
It's so good.
And it's really good. And if anything, for what it's based off of, for what they did, I would say, it would earn it, because they managed to make something that people are like, how do you make a movie out of Barbie?
Well,
and we're like,
and the same thing is it's spreading some wealth. Like Poor Things is a very original idea, but it's not the best thing Tony McNamara has ever done. Like him and Yorgos Lanthimos have done The Favorite. They've done Killing of the Sacred Deer. They've done some stuff where like this is not maybe the spot that Tony should get his good. He's a very noted screenwriter and people love him. But like, is
Yeah.
this the spot where you beat Barbie and you beat Oppenheimer?
No.
So to me, it's a 2-horse race. It's Barbie and Oppenheimer, especially because Barbie's the unexpected horse to show up to the gate. So, and then the other thing is, and I know, keep this in mind because Oscar loves to scratch people's backs. Is this is kind of your one spot to, I mean, not only honor Greta Gerwig, and she's won
Sure.
a few pieces with Lady Bird, but like
Mhm.
Noah Baumbach, her husband or her partner, excuse me, he's never won an Oscar, and he's done things like Marriage Story and 1,000 Great Indies, where this is the one time, like this could be a chance to honor him as well, where like his chance to get a bite at the apple. So, and you know, because we'll talk about this later when a certain person has their 10th, 11th, and 12th nominations in their Oscars, and he actually, we should say it because he's over here in the original screenplay. Bradley Cooper earned his 10th, 11th, and 12th Oscar nominations of his career. He's won none, so he ain't looking like he's winning any of them this year. So the guy's gonna go 12 in and start being Meryl Streep and Susan Lucci here.
He's gonna. I was gonna say he's starting to be Streep in that category.
Yeah.
Well, and also out of these 5, and as we've learned over the years now with the internet and such, you know, it wasn't as transparent back in the day unless you lived in California that you realized there are campaigns for these films during award season where there's swag, special showings, Q&A, and you would know, you're in the know more than
I. So I'm a voting member of the Critics' Choice Association. The Critics' Choice Awards were we about a week and a half ago, and let me tell you, the push just to us, just Critics' Choice for that one show, was just swag beyond getting like, I mean, most voting critics bodies get like a disc or two or a digital screener in the mail to watch the film, just to make sure you see it. Warner Brothers loves to do digital, so it's always like a digital code for an app and you're good to go. Watch Barbie that way, watch Wonka, watch Color Purple. They still sent a disc, they still sent a screenplay, they sent the Ryan Gosling Am I Ken Enough like tie-dyed fuzzy sweatshirt. They sent a book, and then the amount of, and especially in LA, the amount of screenings where there's like a Q&A after, is hosted by this or is hosted by that, but like Greta, Ryan, and Margot have been hitting the town like crazy, where they easily have from November to Christmas 2 screenings a week in Los Angeles that are there for, that are not just the screenings that are on the site, because there's always the, if you need to see it, the guilds will send you to a screening room to watch it. But if you want to go to a public thing to really get the, oh my gosh, the stars talk to me about the movie, there's 2 of those a week for like 4 weeks. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why some of these films, and that's why I would say you're right. It's a battle between Oppenheimer, Barbie,
and that's where the money is too, which is it's like the level of resources they throw at this is almost like politics and like campaign finance reform, where like what Universal and Warner Brothers can throw at this versus what A24 can throw at this, Neon can throw at this, Searchlight, or these other studios, it just pales in comparison. It's nuts what the money is out there to really push your votes and get and unfortunately the money's working. Like the big things get nominated and the big things win.
And you know, and as much as people will say, well, that's just because they're buying votes. It's like, no, even subconsciously, even if you have people who are saying, well, that doesn't influence me, it's total social engineering.
It's still in your face. Like you can't escape Oppenheimer. You can't escape it. It's so on top of everything. Here's a category for us.
Ooh, here's a category for us. The creator, Godzilla -1. Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon.
Surprise here.
Napoleon is a surprise.
I thought this could be a spot where I know it's not the heaviest effects, but it's a good use of it, and it's one of those movies that's raking in other categories. I really thought Poor Things would get that 5th spot. The fantastical way they're doing the Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe stuff, but the 4 studs in front of it, all kind of movies, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough category to call because I mean, Guardians, the creator, and -1. I'm not saying the other 2. Mission Impossible, I'm like, okay,
it's visual. If there was a best on Oscars, yes, but not pure visual effects. Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel put their money in it. It's the better looking one after a very track record year of like shoddy effects, and like we've all seen the digital kid from Thor, God of Thunder, and bad Ant-Man stuff. But like they put their money down on Guardians Volume 3 because it mattered, and it looks good. But
Of the Marvel films that were released last year, if you were just voting Marvel films, I would say Guardians. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
hands down, best effects.
I'm torn because, like, on paper, to me, the creator blows all these away. I mean, I love Godzilla -1. Don't get me wrong, and what they spent for $15 to $20 million is miraculous.
Yeah,
but the creator spending 80 to make something that looks like $1 zillion, and like the integration where they still shot on location every single thing they did, so few sound stages and all that, where and it's not like Godzilla shot in a green screen room, you know, in Canada in a warehouse, but like between I'm very torn, like between creator and Godzilla -1. How about you?
Just seeing this now, revealing this, I've seen 4 of the 5 movies. Napoleon, I'm good not seeing. Really good.
The battle scenes with the VFX are pretty good. Like if you can fast forward to some YouTube clips, not a bad movie. But
these other 4 I have seen because they're in my wheelhouse. And of those, it is a hard call between the creator and Godzilla -1, because you're right. Where Godzilla -1 did a lot with a little, the creator has so many more effects shots in every single scene that were believable, that were like very District 9 feel to them. That's a tough call, and I thought for a minute this would be Godzilla's category, but
I think it still is.
It still might because edge it out.
It's been the more popular movie between that and the creator. It's getting some campaign work, and at least a little bit, or like the groundswell of like support for it in the theaters, like being a very theatrical only movie. It's got its black and white debut this weekend, which is going to drum up another crowd of business and some cinephiles and all that. And but I think, like, because it's current in the mind and the creator fell out of theaters so fast, I think the momentum's on Godzilla's side. I think you're right. I think you and I are both right. On paper, it's probably the creator, but Godzilla -1 has the momentum. And hey, no fault to it. It looks great.
Yeah. No, I mean it's not like it's a bad choice. Either one of the choices
can't go wrong.
Is probably the best effects you saw all year in any of the genre films were these 2, Godzilla -1 and the creator. But Godzilla -1 as well is more frequent, more recent too.
Yeah.
So
that sometimes that unfortunately,
and that does
memory but plays.
Yeah. And we got a couple comments actually, folks.
Yeah, and they're right in this kind of wheelhouse here. So
they are. Ray Sidman. Hey Ray, how you doing? Good to have you. MI7 shows again why there should be a category for best stunt work. Absolutely.
Ray, I'll advertise that. The group of critics that I'm in, Chicago Indie Critics, we're a second critics group in Chicago. We do have a best stunt category. Our nominees this year were Mission Impossible, John Wick, Polite Society, Sisu, and I want to say, oh my gosh, where's my 5th one? I don't think it was Barbie. That'd be crazy if it was Barbie.
No, that'd be Barbie.
I don't know. We have a best stunt category. John Wick won. Can't argue there. So we're I'll tell you what, self advertisement. We got a nice little critics group that
by all means, let your shill show, my friend.
Right, that's where I'm at. Yep,
but yeah, you're right. Stunt work should be shown, even if it's not exactly one that's televised. I would say do it in the technical awards, like they do for they invented this way to shoot a camera. They get an Oscar for that.
Absolutely.
The arts and technical group, they should be getting Oscars, even if it's not televised. They should be getting recognized with an award, especially now with so much work being done. Just there's also, the same can be argued with mocap work as well. So much mocap work.
Chicago Shield again. You ready? We have a sight unseen performance category, which can be narrators, voice cast, or performance cast.
Nice.
And our nominees were Helen Mirren nominating Barbie, which is a narrator spot.
Yeah.
Haley Steinfeld and Oscar Isaac for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Nice.
Did we have a mocap one? Why am I always? I just had this award show Saturday. I promised I was sober. Who are other ones? Voices from cartoons. Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? But yeah, we do that. Like, to me, awesome. Andy Serkis is the all-star of such category.
Yeah, so, he is.
Because there's performance there. Yeah, they might be digitized out, but the person like that is still on set, putting heart and soul into those performances. And I wish they would do better with that. So
absolutely. And we also have Tom McNicholas is here. Surprised that Wonka was shut out. Yeah, I would have figured visual effects
Yeah,
You know, Napoleon
costumes.
over Wonka, because
Yeah,
Wonka had far more. Well, it's
the Napoleon stuff is
fantastical.
strong, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
Did you?
fantastical, but
I missed the Ian show.
mm,
Did you like Wonka?
I like
It's
I was
charming.
on the fence. I was
Yeah.
middle of the road with Wonka. There were
Okay.
parts that I really liked. I think it works better as its own film and not trying to connect it to
That's true.
because the minute you start
Yeah.
connecting it to the original, so much of it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was,
Or you need a sequel that like because the original that we know is the hermetic
yeah,
Willy Wonka, who's like
mm,
old, been away from the public life for a while. How did that guy get there? It's like we're
right.
missing a sequel here, you know?
It was really hard to buy in that this guy that Timothy Chalamet was presenting would
All of it.
eventually get to
Yeah.
Willie. You need that next film. I think
Yeah.
I
I'll take a
Wonka.
sequel.
It's
Timothy's
kind of
charming.
like, yeah, I would. It's kind of like Halloween. When Halloween
Yeah.
Kills came out, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, Halloween Kills, you know, Evil Dies Tonight and all that. I'm like, depending how they end this trilogy will
Mhm.
determine on how maybe much I enjoy the middle film. And unfortunately, we
Yeah.
got Halloween Ends, what we did. But that's kind of like Wonka. I think
Mhm.
if Wonka gets a middle film that fills in between happy Timothy Chalamet
Yeah.
and
The
and
fall.
Gene Wilder's
Yeah.
cynical, if we could see how he actually falls, which is what I hoped Wonka would
Or even
have
just like
been.
it doesn't have to be like a super tragic, horrible movie. Like if you have
No.
this chipper movie where he just kind of like gets to the end of it and kind of walks away. You
Mhm.
know, says, you know what,
Mhm.
guys, I've tried the world. I like my chocolates, and I'm gonna be in the factory for a while. See you then.
Right.
And
And
like it doesn't have to be like, screaming over dead bodies in the ground, Gwen Stacy tragedy stuff. Like have
yeah,
them walk away, you know?
just have him
Um,
walk away or have him,
yeah, something.
or I thought the opportunity for you to do that would be having, I know it sounds cruel, don't get me wrong, but I think it would
Uh-huh.
have been a good setup. Have him kind of get burned slightly by the young girl
Ah,
that he helps.
I like it.
She burns him, not in like a very mean way, but just he gets slighted enough to where
True.
he's like, oh, so he secludes himself with the factory and shuts it off, and there you go.
Yeah.
And I think,
It
you
could be
know,
done.
you could have done it with Wonka,
Yeah.
and that's what I kind of was hoping that movie was. But you're
Mhm.
right, it's surprised that it's shut out
Yeah,
altogether
Oscar
because
wise, visual effects, maybe some production design, maybe some
yeah.
costume design, maybe some hair and makeup. There's
Mhm.
spots where it could have a shot.
Oh, absolutely, costume design and hair
Oh,
and
totally.
makeup for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Love the costume.
very much there, yeah.
Let's
And
go
then
find the spot it should go away from up there.
yes, we will keep going here. Just
Ray,
Ray
right
said
with you.
he'd vote for John Wick or Sisu.
Heck yeah.
Sisu is definitely one of those I want to
Mhm.
see. I saw that trailer and I'm like, that's my movie. I just have so much to watch because we have so much to watch.
That's right.
Okay, so here we go with sound.
Okay.
Not a big surprise either. The creator,
Ah,
Maestro, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, and Zone of Interest. Again,
interesting. Okay,
Zone
so
of Interest is the only one I haven't seen, but these others I have.
so from a sound standpoint, just to describe the movie for the folks that don't know it. So the movie takes place in a community of the German officers who live kind of on site next to Auschwitz. So the camera never really enters Auschwitz, where you just are in this little like communal little officers kind of little bedroom little village community of like
Mhm,
temporary housing, things like that, where the officers and their families stay, and literally right next door across the wall is death and mayhem.
mm.
So an interesting use of sound in this movie is almost all movie long, you just hear the sound of a roaring furnace where you're
Oh,
like,
okay.
damn,
Where's
that's
yeah.
that's going on. And every now and then you hear pop, pop, pops of gunshots. Every now and then you hear some screams, but you never go over that wall and you never look. It's just this
Mhm.
level of like, because the thing is, this family's completely ambivalent. Like that's just dad's work, you
Yeah.
know. And so there is a unique. I'll call that a unique level of sound design as a volume of work. Yeah, it probably doesn't compete with the other nominees in that category, but it's unique sound design, and it's a cool spot to honor it for sure.
And Maestro, that's kinda like when
That's just
Tar
bang, huge. Yeah.
when Tar
Oh,
got for sound
better
as
than
well.
Tar.
It's just
But
yeah.
this is better, like, because here's the thing with Bradley Cooper and Maestro.
Mhm.
Bradley Cooper shot all of those orchestral scenes on set. That's
He
not
likes
added.
doing that, yeah.
That's not
He's
added second
mhm,
audio. The sound you hear of a full London Symphony
mhm.
Orchestra playing and him conducting it accurately is shot on set. That's not in post. Like, hey, we'll fix it in
Right.
post or we'll ADR it. None of
Mhm.
that. So that's obscenely great sound.
That's why I'm very excited to watch Maestro, because
Yeah.
Bernstein is just a fantastic person. So
It's I'll warn you, it's kind of a hopscotch through his life where they really narrow this, or the through thread they use is his relationship with his wife. Like it's
okay,
a marriage movie before it's ever a star's biography.
right,
So watch out there.
okay.
Sound wise, I'm happy to see the creator up there. I thought it would only get visual
Mhm.
effects and not sound. I thought they'd throw something else, like Oppenheimer in there. I think Oppenheimer's still there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Creator.
Oppenheimer is there, and then
Oppenheimer
Dead
will win.
Reckoning is there. Though I
Yeah.
I I will say I'm disappointed no Godzilla -1 for sound, because
Agreed.
Godzilla
roar.
-1 for sound, when you
Roar. Just alone.
listen to it, I rarely get a chance or pay the money to see it in the Dolby Atmos.
Yes.
And we watched it on the biggest screen available in central
Mhm.
Wisconsin with the Dolby Atmos,
Oh,
and him
rattle
walking,
your cage, man, right?
Godzilla walking just gave me chills, and then the
Yes.
roar and the
Yeah.
whole
That's
sound
legit sound.
design for that film. It is disappointing on here. You know, in a way, I almost wish they would cut Mission Impossible
I
and
would
put
too.
Godzilla
Yeah.
-1 in there more so.
I mean, that's more of a traditional action movie where there's a hell of a mix. Like
right. Yeah.
you're mixing score, you're mixing footwork, you're mixing obviously your Foley and the stuff that's on set,
Sure.
and then a whole lot of added, sound effects
Mhm.
and stuff like that, where that's more of your complete package movie. I said Zone of Interest kind of has a unique use of sound, and
Right.
then Maestro's just on set sound.
Well, yeah.
And then the creator's kind of another one of those like complete package things where
Mhm.
I have a bad feeling, since we're playing the betting odds here, this is an Oppenheimer win, because that's
Probably,
you got that big
yeah.
Louis Gordon score. You have the imposing sound effects of the science they do, even though I don't think it's that exciting. We've had
And
that
it's
show.
Nolan. It's Nolan and
Nolan.
sound.
And
If
he's
there's
good. Don't get me
anything-
wrong, he's good. But
If anything, that when it's a Nolan movie, sound is usually top notch. Unfortunately, with Nolan.
if I was voting here, this would
Yeah.
be Maestro in a heartbeat, because like
Sure.
this is not tuned sound. It's like to capture as much of that
Mhm.
big, loud, and huge on set is
Right.
something people don't do anymore. Where I'm impressed.
And that's what he did with Star is Born too. All the
massive.
performances were
Yeah.
recorded
On
on
set.
stage with the performers.
And I think that's a
And-
degree of difficulty I would honor, but I don't think
Oh
it's
yeah.
gonna make it, so.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So onward and upward to live action short film.
All
I
right,
don't know any
I'll
of
give you
these.
I'll give you a term you could use. These are the dartboard categories to me, where you throw a dart.
The
and you hope you
dartboard
got it.
category.
No, if there's a guy
Mhm.
here to watch for,
Mhm.
watch for Wes Anderson, who's never won an Oscar, and here
Oh,
he is up
yeah.
here for short film for The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Oh, he did a
The
short
other-
film?
He
Wow.
did a short film.
Okay.
And then watch for, is it The After? The After has like David
this-
Oyelowo. It's got like legit actors in it. Where
Really?
it's not just some foreign little lark.
Mhm.
You've got some you've got some pedigree in The After, and you've got Wes Anderson, for goodness sakes,
For
in The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. So watch out for those two.
so Wonderful Story may get it because of Wes Anderson,
Well, it's also exposure. I believe
And
that one's
exposure,
on Netflix. Like, and he
Oh,
put a whole
yeah.
series of he did a whole series of short films this year that all went
Mm.
straight to Netflix, which have gotten some play. So that, for accessibility standpoint, again, for the lazy voters who won't watch anything, but it's on Netflix, so I can find it. They'll,
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
some disc,
Yeah.
they'll have a better chance of getting that one there.
Most
So watch out
likely,
for Wes
yeah.
Anderson. And the crazy thing is, if I remember correctly, if he wins, that's his first career Oscar.
That
I
will
don't know
be
if he's
his
won in
first-
a writing one. You make me
no.
look while you go to the next category. My bad.
I don't think he has either, but
Which is a long-standing
'cause-
shutout for a guy who's been an auteur that everyone
Well,
loves. So.
he's been nominated a number of times. I think the
Yeah.
closest he came was the hotel one.
Yeah, Grand Budapest. He
Grand
should have. Yeah.
Budapest.
I
He
would have
should've
gave it to him.
probably, yeah.
Because that was
So-
that to me was his most complete work. He has 7 Academy Award nominations and never won one. So
Wow.
here's his list: screenplay, Royal Tenenbaums; animated feature, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Probably should have won that one too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some Pixar juggernaut that year. Moonrise Kingdom is a hell of an original score. Budapest was his biggest one. Picture, director, screenplay, all the same year.
Right.
Isle of Dogs animated feature probably didn't have a chance. And then Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar is his 7th. So
Budapest was one of the bigger surprises that it didn't.
Yeah.
Because I liked Budapest. I think that's
that
one of my-
year, let me see what was thrown out that year. Because there had to be a juggernaut in front of. Oh, that was the Birdman year. So
that
Interview
was the
2,
Birdman year.
Minority
Yeah,
Pick. That's
yeah.
okay. Let me look at Fantastic Mr. Fox. What was the animated film that year?
I think a Pixar
Oh,
was out.
Up.
Yeah.
You're
So there
Pixar's
you go.
masterpiece. Good luck there. Yeah, you're not beating that.
You're not
Yeah.
beating Up.
Not
No,
beating the
you're
one that makes everyone cry. Nope. Nope. Nope.
you're
Nope.
not
Nope.
beating the movie that has the opening 10 minutes. There's very little dialogue and it makes everybody cry and tells a
And
better
I admit
story than.
that's like
Oh
my number
yeah.
one or number two Pixar film. It's so damn
Oh
good.
yeah. No, Up, no problem.
Yeah.
That's a fine pick. I don't think anyone would slight you for it
Yeah.
either. And then we have animated short, another
Oh, yes.
dartboard.
So is there a Pixar one? Because normally there's at least one studio hitter.
There
I
isn't.
didn't see
No,
Elemental.
there is no.
Oh,
They didn't.
this is all dartboard then. Good
Yeah,
luck.
there is no Pixar animated short up this year.
And no Disney one either, because sometimes
no
Disney
Disney
on
one.
their own has one, and
Mhm.
then Pixar has theirs. Both had films this year. I
They
did see
did.
Wish in theaters, and there was not a short before Wish.
Really? Wow.
No. And then
Huh.
I didn't see Elemental in theaters, and I don't know if there was a short. If there was, it's not there.
And you know what's funny with Wish is
Yeah.
I saw an ad recently. It's not even direct to like Disney Plus yet. It's on Vudu first. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
what? I looked at the
Yeah.
ad and it said available digital on Vudu and Fandango, and I'm like, no
I was,
Disney Plus.
you know what?
What?
I don't know how they're doing that. Like, because there's such a streaming wars now where, like, I was on Max the other day and,
Mhm.
like, they have all the Star Trek films. I'm like, yo, Paramount Plus, anybody? You know, like, what are you doing, Paramount? Don't give that stuff to Warner's. So yeah, it's weird. And I'm sure it's
It
a
is. It
deal
is.
and a collective and a sharing thing. I have no clue how to do this.
Who knows? Production design. Here we go.
Here we go.
Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Same thing. I mean, Napoleon, a fancy gaudy sets. I didn't think it was one of the 5 best to be here, but that's
yeah, Napoleon
Ooh.
is a surprise.
Yeah.
For production design, it's gonna probably be Barbie.
It better be.
If anything, because they do set decoration and production design, so much of that was a practical set.
Thank you. Yeah.
That I would find it highly, because this is an art category, because production design is voted by production designers.
Yeah.
So they're going to recognize the art that was put into that.
And Killers of the Flower Moon is shot on a lot of locations with some good buildings and stuff, but we've seen an Old West set before. We're not reinventing anything great there. And then Oppenheimer, good location scouting, to find these old classrooms and these old labs. And maybe if you do rebuild Las Cruces, on your own little set, fine. Like the same way Killers of the Flower Moon built some old wood houses, fine. But you didn't build Barbie's dream house. You didn't tear it down and turn it into Ken's Mojo Doja Casa house. Like the imagination of that movie, and even the Mattel headquarters, even the use of Venice Beach, like it's pristine. The creativity on display in Barbie there.
There's so much artistry in Barbie that this is going to be the front runner in this category.
It better be.
And yeah, because it's funny. It's Oppenheimer. I'm like, I look at Oppenheimer and I go, you know what? Asteroid City had more production design than Oppenheimer.
Totally. Yeah. Again, I mean, I get the Las Cruces. Like, if you rebuild Las Cruces, the New Mexico, again, you're building dormitories versus Asteroid City, where you're building a true little city. So that's way better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised Asteroid City's not on here.
Didn't sneak one. Yeah, like because normally Wes Anderson is very on point with his production design. Look at Grand Budapest Hotel, taking an old mall and turning it into a hotel, where he normally plays in that category. And then here comes Napoleon, which is tense and old stuff. Like, come on.
Everything I've heard from my critic friends, it's like Napoleon showing up here so many times is kind of a surprise.
Well, like that's that Apple money. Apple's putting some money.
That's Apple. Yeah,
that's Apple money, because that's who's bankrolling that one.
Oh, and we're already up to Best Pictures. So because they don't put this in
because I have an alphabet. Okay, here we go then.
That's fine. We're
mid-show peak here, right?
Mid-show peak. Here we go. Okay,
oh boy, load management.
American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
Did they use all 10 slots? Do the count here.
2, 4, 6, 8. Oh my God, they used all 10 slots.
That might be a first.
It's been,
because they've flirted with 9, they've done 8.
I don't think they've really filled all 10 since they made it 10.
Okay, that's saying something.
So
I mean,
that is because
saying something. Yeah, well, I'll be the asshole here. I think they never needed to go past 5. Where there's 5 here, you trim instantly. tell you right now. But yeah.
No, no, that you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
They didn't necessarily need to go past 5. 10 was to keep people pulled in
It
and
is.
help
It
to
was the
work
Dark
those
Knight rule.
kind of
We remember. Yeah.
move those blockbuster films into here. Yeah, the Dark Knight rules. So
Which is weird though, because like other than Barbie and Oppenheimer, have any of these movies made money?
well, it's
Holdovers got a nice run. Poor Things is doing oh, I don't think it's making much money at the box. Past Lives had a good run, but not like
but
we're not including the block. It's not like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is on here.
no, that's
You
what. Yeah,
know,
I mean, I
it's
would
not
have.
like what would be another semi crossover hit ish thing.
In all honesty, Godzilla -1.
If you're well, you already got two. Well, here, this is normally how this category breaks down.
Because you've got
When you do the
genre
10
films
thing,
in there.
when you do the 10 thing, you're going to do a token comedy just to say
Mhm.
you included a comedy. You're going to throw a foreign film or two to say you
Yeah.
included a foreign film or two. And guess what? We have two here.
You have
So
to.
Anatomy of the Fall and Zone of Interest are your token.
Mhm.
We love foreign film. Look at us,
Mhm.
enjoy foreign film. We put it on level with the other film.
Yeah.
So those two that are there for the sake of resume. American Fiction is there to say you included a comedy. The Holdovers, unfortunately, is there to say you included a comedy. So that leaves the studs and the pedigree, which is unfortunately, for in my eyes, Killers of Flower Moon, which has no business being there. Oppenheimer's the stud. Barbie's the stud. Poor Things is your artistic dynamo that's in
Mhm.
the third most nominated film. Past Lives, your indie darling. You need to have one indie darling, and then Maestro would that is probably what would be that sixth one that is pedigree and on Netflix and a streamer fighting for a fifth spot if this was only 5.
This
And
was only
Escape Beyond
5.
Man
Yeah.
Out is not nominated much of any place else.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I'm with you though. As much as what was put behind it in Killers of the Flower Moon, it's just
I know.
compared to some of these
Yeah.
other ones that I have seen that are up here, I'm like, it was a weaker of those films. I mean,
That's that Apple money
but,
again,
but
too.
that's that Apple money, absolutely.
Well, if they're, I tell you what, doing that LA thing where I get all these emails.
Yeah.
If Barbie was the film that was shown the most with all that press and people on site and talent available for all these like public screenings and show off stuff, the one that's been out there the second most is Killers of the Flower Moon, and it's showing right here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like you
Marty,
said,
Marty will shop it. Leo will shop it.
That Apple money and Marty and Leo are going to push hard for it because and there's again that pedigree, which still has a little pull.
Yeah, oh, here comes
Ray. Very happy to see Anatomy of the Fall up for multiple Oscars, including Best Director. Though I'm confused why Best Picture yet wasn't nominated.
So one of the complications that happens with this is, and we saw this last year among our circle of friends with RRR in India,
right?
Is countries can only put forward one submission. So if I remember correctly, Anatomy of the Fall would be a French quote unquote film, even though there's more English in the movie than French, which is kind of funny. France put something else up for the Oscar where unless your country puts you up, it's not just wild card round. Sure. So that's why you get these weird technicalities where that international feature field is always very hodgepodge because if there's most of us see what we are seeing, Ray, is that some countries have multiple entries. Korea every year has multiple things that are eligible. India should have something every year that's multiple. And then sometimes you have something like Germany. Or the weird thing with Zone of Interest is like that's a English film technically in a weird way, which is England by the crown more than English by the language. So it's a weird thing to have in the foreign language field as well. But no, it's a country of submission standpoint where they have to they can only back one horse. And they chose, I don't remember what the short list was for France. I'm sure look it up. It might be The Taste of Things, which is a nice movie too. But let me look that up. Ray, you keep talking and thinking, but that's why it's not there.
So Best Picture, again, I'm not doing my predictions yet because I still have a few of these I am definitely going to catch, but what's up?
No, I don't want to. I feel like I'm influencing your vote.
No, you're not.
But yeah, this is like the NCAA tournament where people are pissing and moaning at number 65. You could put this field could be 5, it could be 10. People will still piss and moan. So, are there cases for movies like Godzilla -1? Are there cases for movies like some of the more indie darlings like The Iron Claw, All of Us Strangers, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because we see animated movies make this field, especially critically revered ones. yeah, you can make a case that some of these things should maybe be there, but like I said, I broke down that field for you. Once you put 2 international nominees in there and you throw a couple of token comedies in, your field gets full in a hurry, and then you have the pedigree and the big money buyers. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
fills in a hurry.
So it's, again, I'm not doing my predictions yet, but I
Yeah.
unfortunately know what's probably going to win this category. Unfortunately,
I mean, fingers are pointing to, let's just say it. This looks like Christopher Nolan's year.
yeah, this is going to be.
It's not I mean, we've been on that Oppenheimer show, you and me. I don't think it's great shakes, but if this is the spot to give Christopher Nolan that Oscar to get the monkey off his back, he wrote his own screenplay. He didn't make a franchise movie. He made something more coherent than Tenet. And he's one of our greatest ever. I guess if you need to kiss his ass and end the streak of like, when are we ever going to give that guy we all love an Oscar and get the film bros off our back? If this is the one, fine.
But
I guarantee he will make 5 better things than this before he's done. But for now, this is our one.
He's going to be one of those directors that if he wins it for this, he's getting it not for this.
No. Yeah, like, down the road, we'll be like, whoa, holy cow. Yeah, but we gave him an Oscar already for that kind of okay bomb movie a couple years ago. Who's going to like rewatch Oppenheimer like crazy? No one.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of those.
Let me
And
find French. Okay. The Globes, France did not submit an Anime Fall for their award. Past Lives is ineligible because technically it's a U.S. film despite its Chinese heritage, or excuse me, Korean heritage.
Yeah, Korean heritage.
But the short list from France is something else. France. I'll find it, but you're good. Just not that one.
But Ray says admittedly he wanted Iron Claw to get some nods. I'm surprised
shut out entirely.
Seeing Iron Claw in here as well.
I thought if it had a shot, it's a crowded field, and we'll get to this one as we go up here. Supporting actors really busy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a chance that movie splits its own vote because everybody loves Jeremy Allen White right now for The Boss. Yeah. Harris Dickinson does a nice job as the second brother in that movie. And then the dad, Holt McCallany, who we love as genre fans and a zillion things, being the crew cut tough guy. I thought he was the best person in the movie. But when you have 3 contenders like that, you're going to box out your own vote versus a little bit of category fraud from 2 guys and then 3 studs that are in the field. So we'll talk about category fraud when we get there.
Yep. We're getting up to the top. Hey, Talix and Jonathan Lopez, thanks for joining us as well.
Dance it up with the emojis, you two.
Yeah, thanks for the emojis. But yeah, this is going to be. That's the thing. Oppenheimer's been just pushing through the award season, so I suspect it's going to be in the Best Picture category.
I was right. France, Taste of Things. A cooking movie from the 19th century with Juliette Binoche. I've seen it. It's very good. I'll say one thing about it. It has the most interesting cinematography I've seen last year, and that's saying something considering the field we're going to talk about.
The other films, yeah.
Like they're watching a cooking movie, we're watching people on screen kind of cooking and things like that, and then every now and then the camera just kind of comes in and like pans down into what they're cooking and looks for a little bit, and then comes back up. We're like, oh, like it's kind of like a little voyeuristic camera movement, which is I've never seen it done in a movie, and it's so unique because it's slow and it lingers and it kind of hangs. You're like, ooh, that does look good, and then it comes and brings it back. So unique. Now, is it best interesting international film?
Sure.
No, but
but still interesting. Definitely interesting. And so now we move on to music, original song.
There's
we go.
Some BS here. I'm going to tell you.
Okay, is the pickings that thin to where they have to pull the song, the fire inside from Flamin' Hot?
So you've got your Texas Small. So the fire inside.
I'll read.
I'll tell you why. The fire inside is Diane Warren, and she always gets nominated. So you gotta know the field. Sure. She's like the Bradley Cooper of song. She's been nominated like 16 times.
Okay, so that would probably be why part of the reason why she's out here. I'm Just Ken from the Barbie movie.
But what was I Made For? That's still there. So there's 2 Barbie songs.
And we knew that was what I Was Made For was still there.
Billie Eilish. That's the big hit.
What Was I Made For is probably the front runner.
Yeah, because that's when you get to the Oscars and you're looking for a formal song, and almost like Lady Gaga getting on stage and belting her little heart out, you're going to have this scene in the show where Billie Eilish, who's a very popular star, is going to get on stage to that very soulful song, lights are low, and she's going to sing her little heart out with that song and wow the crowd. So as if she doesn't already wow the voters. So now the Song of My People, I'm sorry to laugh because I know it's representation, but that song from Killers of the Flower Moon, get the F out of here. No
I
way.
that is
It's most
don't get me
blatant
wrong.
inclusion song.
It's a film that's a great representation. It's great representation for the
Yeah.
film that it's in.
Yeah.
That is a surprise that they put that in here. Which is, and just like I mean, it's kind of like Diane Warren up there. You got John Batista, so It Never Went Away is in here too. So he's going to be up there because John Batista.
But this, when you ask about Pickens, there is some pedigree and there's also your traditional. So like in the best song field, when it comes to traditional, you have a whole bunch of songs in Trolls where you can't tell me there's not an Oscar moment where you get Justin Timberlake and NSYNC up there singing together Better Place. Like that would bring the fucking house down. So why Trolls but Band Together's not up there, I don't know. Wonka has plenty of songs.
Wonka has plenty of songs.
And now Color Purple has adapted songs, but still a couple of originals. Sure. And then you go more traditional, nothing from any Disney movie, nothing from Wish, which is a shocker because Disney normally dominates in there. And then you've got one more traditional. Well, I don't know if it's traditional, but like you have Peaches, Peaches, Peaches by Jack Goddamn Black. Yeah. And how much of an Oscar moment is that when you can get that big man with his beard on stage in a piano playing his little heart out? What an Oscar moment that you blow to have somebody sing. I mean, I hate to be a jerk, to sing some Osage song. No one gives a shit.
When he'd show up in a Bowser outfit too, know for a fact he'd show up in a Bowser.
Remember when remember in the Oscars where they did Blame Canada?
With Robin Williams. They did Blame Canada.
It's amazing. Yeah. Have an Oscar showy song and dance moment with Peaches, Peaches, Peaches. Yeah. Blowing it, Oscars. I mean, and then you've got pedigree where like from a more traditional standpoint, movies like Rustin, Origin, American Fiction, Past Lives all have, and Iron Claw all have like your typical end credits, adult, ready for the drama song. So you have all of those too, and you picked Diane Warren from a movie no one's seen.
Yeah.
Killers of Flower Moon.
And I mean, if you want to get down to brass tacks, original song is one of those, for lack of a better term, common man categories to where you're trying to pull in possible people
Barbie,
who haven't really watched the movies. So in all honesty, I mean, looking at this, it's probably going to be what was I made for, because it is, don't get me wrong, it's a good song. It's
even if it splits its own vote, those are the two top songs, period. Barbie's winning one way or another.
It's going to win one of those two.
Now your only moment is going to be, and if it even happens, if you can talk Ryan Gosling into coming on stage and singing I'm Just Ken and Simu Liu, and you get Bangsley King, like if you bring all the Kens back, John Cena, like if you can do that, great. But you could have imagine this Oscars, that song, Billie Eilish going soulful, Jack Black, NSYNC reunited for the first time in 20 years with Justin Timberlake, and then Ariana DeBose, an Oscar winner who does a great job with a Disney movie, belting her little heart out doing a great Disney song on the 100th anniversary of Disney. Like, you have a field where you could bring the house down, and you pick those.
That's literally a section where they could pull a Super Bowl and sell tickets just for that section.
What a show that could have been. And I know the Barbie and Oppenheimer phenomenon has jolted movies up, but I'm not expecting ratings bump this year. Like,
no, I'm not.
I don't know how much the Oppenheimer juice is still there. So
it's hard to say. I mean, people have seen it. They're like, okay, great. Yeah. Oppenheimer. Yeah. Okay. Especially what kind of, it kind of is its own enemy because Oppenheimer has won so many awards at the other awards shows before. This is true. Now. Yeah. People are going to be like, oh, it's going to be Oppenheimer. Why should I watch? It's not gonna be,
like, and we'll get to the acting categories, but like, I think there's places to spread wealth where Oppenheimer, Robert Downey Jr. won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Supporting Actor. He's climbing these charts but if this could be a situation where, I know this sounds petty and political, but like, how many people are still pissed at Robert Downey Jr. for being a drug using guy who puts his career away? Are there those voters? Are they still there? Is there too much Oppenheimer love where and then is there Barbie backlash where like, is this the place you have to throw Gosling an award who's never won? Yeah. I know we're a category early here, but like, if that's the case, Oppenheimer is going to win arts and technical. It's going to win director. It's going to win picture, but maybe that's it for the night. Yeah. And then, so wealth can be spread elsewhere, but it'll be interesting to kind of. It might not matter. It might be one of those movies where the top Oscar winner of the night's like a movie that wins 5, not a movie that wins 9.
Don't worry, I'm still feeling the burn because This Is Me didn't win the Academy Award. They gave it to the Coco song, to which I nearly got into
That's
it.
Coco for you though, man. Disney.
I nearly got into it with someone about that song on the merits of it or not, and
yeah,
you know,
that's a good point.
So yeah, it's just one of those where I went back. So it was like, well, it's the whole, and I'm like, no, I'm like,
the phenomenon wins there, but this year we're seeing it. It's Barbie. You just look at that category. It's Barbie and everything else. Not a chance.
It is. Yeah, it's Barbie and everything else. Now, original score. We're both score heads
here. Yeah, we are both score heads, and this landed different than I thought.
American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, because John Williams, because even if it's a good or bad, it's John Williams. He submits. I think there might be 1 year I remember where he had a soundtrack where he didn't get nominated. Otherwise, if Williams has one coming out, he's going to get nominated. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy. I'm not slamming it. I'm just saying that's like the gimme. That's like for a score. It's like, oh, Williams came out with a score. Here you go.
Yeah, I'm happy he's there because it is the legend. If it is his last or second last hurrah, and honestly, I'll say it, it's kind of a weak score year.
It was.
Well, at least at the top level, it's a weak score year. I think there's some movies that should have scores, and we'll talk about the category. But like, I'm okay with, like, if you're going to throw a nomination away, throw it to John Williams.
Throw it to John Williams. Out of this, I wouldn't mind seeing him get one more.
Well, here's the thing. You got a posthumous one with Robbie Robertson passed away and Killers of the Flower Moon. It's driven a little bit by that score. It's got that little drum beat going where it's a good score.
It is.
Maybe that's the pity. I know now I'm being a jerk again, but like, and I'm being a jerk to Killers of the Flower Moon. Maybe that's your pity vote, the guy who died.
It might. You never know. But American Fiction, which I haven't seen some of these. I will by the Oscars, but American
Fiction is a very jazzy score. So the main character's name, last name is Monk, and his first name, his dad intentionally kind of called him Thelonious. So nice. there's a bit of a jazz infusion there, which is a nice score. Not a traditional score, score. And then Göransson is just bombastically amazing because it's Göransson, and it's Nolan. And then Poor Things, I dare anyone for that movie to hum any strum of music for Poor Things. They're gonna remember Emma Stone's tits, and that's it. I'm sorry. There's no score in that movie, or if there's a score, I didn't notice. Wink, wink.
No one paid attention to the music.
Paid attention to the score. For me, we're two score heads here. I'm wondering if Godzilla -1 is not there because it's adapted music and not super original music by technicality. Not being there, because that score rocks.
That score was perfect.
Amazing.
And in fact, it's one of the, I would say, the most appropriate uses for the Godzilla theme.
Absolutely.
In that film, whereas the other films they've used it and it doesn't quite fit
or it's all they got. Like, they overuse it. They wait for the right moment to be like,
they tease it throughout Godzilla -1, and then they nail you with the full theme at the right time that fit everything, and it's just like, I love that theme, and it was perfect.
The other nominee I would put here in a heartbeat, and maybe it's I don't know if it's overdone or how many sequels or how many movies of this franchise have made it into the field, but Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Lorne Balfe. And now I know the Mission Impossible score is its own thing, and maybe there's a technicality there where it's not original.
Right.
But this time around, I don't know if you noticed, and you're a score guy like me, but like Lorne Balfe used like drum and bugle corps. Like his drum line use in that movie, that takes your typical little bongo, Lalo Schifrin Mission Impossible score and amps it up with the drums. And not like a Hans Zimmer bombastic drums, but just like that drum line drum, and it's a great feel for the movie. Where that would be a score I would put here. Qualified unless it's adapted because it's non-original.
And Stuffed Burrito. Hey, welcome, Stuffed Burrito. So glad you could join us, Gabe.
Stuffed Burrito is right. That's another one.
Across the Spider-Verse should have been nominated for
that very digital-centric score. Daniel Pemberton. He won. I'll say it. He won our score in the Chicago Shill.
Hey, there you go. the Chicago Indie Awards.
Yeah.
He won there, so he got his acknowledgement there. But yeah,
he got our certificate and kudos.
You know,
Who else would you put here? Your score guy. I got one more, but you go.
What
first.
do you got for your one more?
And I'm surprised because he's not a juggernaut on his own. The Hans Zimmer score in The Creator ain't bad.
No, it isn't.
It's not
You're
bad.
absolutely right.
It's not bad.
That is
It hits
another
a level.
score that really hits really hits it. Yeah.
Other than that, if I'm surprised, like a more traditional score didn't sneak in here from a lesser film like Alexander Desplat, who's won this award 2-3 times here for different things. He's got a nice score in The Boys in the Boat. It's not a movie that many people noticed, and George Clooney has some pedigree where that's a guy who's been here before. Alexander's a guy who's been here before. It's a nice score, traditional score. I don't know if it's the top 5 of the year, but I thought it'd maybe steal a spot. Yeah, but or Barbie. Here we go again. Like I know it's driven by a song soundtrack, but Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt put a nice little score in there. It's not huge, but in a movie musical, it's rises above most others.
I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. I got the score version, and it's actually check it out. It's finally mine. But I've got it, and it was it's a solid score. And what's interesting is they were the second choice after I forgot who it was. I blanking on the liner notes. They mentioned in the liner notes, but they had it might have been Desplat. I forgot.
That would be an interesting tone if you pick that movie in Desplat's hands. That feels like a Danny Elfman movie.
You would think.
Yeah.
You would.
But Gerwig, who's Gerwig used in the past? I think Gerwig used. Oh no, he used Desplat for Little Women. That makes sense.
Yeah. Score. Let me look real quick because I remember them mentioning it because, let's see, because they did the vocals. But they didn't do the score. They weren't going to do the score. And then let's see.
Second choice, huh?
Yeah, they were the second choice. It doesn't.
I mean, maybe Mark Mothersbaugh, a very Lego Movie energetic guy. I can see in a spot like that.
It was Desplat. I was right. I did remember. My brain is
tracks with Gerwig.
My brain is idled.
Lady Bird and Little Women were Desplat, so I could see that.
So they were going to get Desplat, but he couldn't. Apparently,
I think he was busy with Boys in the Boat.
Yeah, he was Boys. So they asked the guys.
Clooney's used him twice now too, so I get it.
And so they picked the guys who wrote the vocals. They say, "Hey, write the instrumental." They're like, "Okay." And so they did it. And
it played.
It played. It worked. And in all honesty, their style that worked with the vocals then because it's all the similar voice with it.
And I think, and I know it's underrated in most musicals, but like where the songs are very forward and the underscore is not. I think if you don't have both, you kind of don't have a good flow in a movie. Where I think it's okay to honor an underscore even in a musical where the songs are forward.
Burton managed to make it work with the Prince score and Danny Elfman's score. They edited it just right so those would work together. If you notice with Batman 89, and I'm bringing up Batman 89 and Danny Elfman. Sue me, my favorites of all time.
All right. I'm right with you.
Anyway, the story with that, in case anybody didn't know, was initially they were going to have Danny work with Prince, and Danny was just like, "Yeah, I can't." He's like, No, I do not want to infringe on Prince's style. He's like, we are just not going to jive. So Elfman did the score, and then Prince still did his album, which most of the songs made their way into the movie, not just over the credits, but during the movie.
Yeah, good marriage of music. Yeah, it worked.
It was a good marriage. It was a good marriage because of the way they did it, though. There are blanket pauses in the sound as far as music.
Yeah,
going from Danny's score to Prince's songs. You don't go right from there's only like one moment in the parade where you kind of go between the two, but it still works. But there's still a bit of a beat between them. They don't, on purpose. So that's where it works. So long story short, Barbie.
I'm with you, Ray. That soundtrack is stellar.
And yes,
there's a song or two there that probably could have made this feel too. Or back in the original song, like there's an end credit song in Spider-Verse that it's a pop hit, but it would play.
Both Burrito and Ray, and we agree. Yes, Into the Spider-Verse definitely could have deserved being there. Makeup and hairstyling: Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow, aka Alive, the remake. Anyway,
Better movie than Alive. I'll say it like that.
Was it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Stunner there, Barbie. Are you kidding
no
me, Barbie?
How can you
I
not
mean,
have
that movie's driven by hairstyle and makeup.
the entire movie? Yeah, the whole style, the
movie.
entire movie is.
Yeah. So
style
that's
and
the
makeup.
shocker there for me. Like, if you could have given Barbie, and we'll talk about it in a couple of the categories, like there's easily, and not that Barbie didn't get plenty. Barbie got 8 nominations, but
Right.
that movie could have had 11 in a hurry because Gerwig as director. You'll notice later, Margot Robbie is not a Best Actress contender, and that's a big one. And then this is a spot from Arts and Technical where this could have been its 11th nomination. And
That's why I'm
yeah.
like surprised Society of the Still, even though I haven't seen it compared to Barbie. I'm like,
here's the fun thing about this category. You have 2 performances in movies that were on film Twitter accused of Jew-facing actors. And they both won Best Makeup, or both are here for Best Makeup, because turning Helen Mirren into Golda is a thing that got a lot of play and piss off people. And then all the Bradley Cooper nose work in Maestro, which I think looks amazing. But you have 2 Jew-face tirades that made the Best Makeup field. Amazing.
Wow, that's crazy.
Is Poor Things on this list?
Poor Things is on the list.
With Barbie off the list, this feels like a Poor Things spot because Willem Dafoe is extraordinary in the way they pull him off. The way they kind of foppish makeup Ruffalo something, and then Emma Stone, even when we're talking about her clothes off, still is out there with the hair and the makeup to kind of be a very unique, splintered individual as it is. And then Society of the Snow is just happy to be there. The makeup to make these people look gaunt and dying is amazing. Oppenheimer's there because it's the classy thing to do with all the period piece stuff. And then the 2 Jew-face was Golda and Maestro. It's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Honestly, from a technical standpoint, the prosthetic work in Maestro to me is off the charts here. But if you don't do that, it's Poor Things. So
it's gonna be Poor Things. Yeah, even I haven't seen it, and I would fully.
Or here we go again. If Poor Things is going to lose in all the other places, this is kind of the one spot to say, "Hey, here's a little something for you guys.
Here's your Oscar." Yeah,
here's your Oscar.
And then international film.
Yeah, this is a hodgepodge.
Pardon my French to anybody who's watching, but fuck you. No Godzilla -1. Are you kidding me?
I don't think Japan entered it. Let me go back to the list again.
So
here's the thing. Look at Zone of Interest, United Kingdom.
Yeah.
I know that's a foreign country, but that's to me some category fraud right there.
Teacher's
Lounge is a legit movie.
That's what I've heard. I've heard Teacher's Lounge
legit,
is really
and it's
good.
coming out this weekend here. Society of the Snow on Netflix from Spain is extraordinary because it takes that story of Alive and tells it with authentic Uruguayan, Paraguayan, and Argentinian actors, and it's really good. And Jay Bayona is an action filmmaker. I know the Jurassic Park movie didn't do him any solids, but like that's still the guy that made The Impossible. That's still the guy that made A Monster Calls. He can hit emotions and he can hit action at the same time. And then the other 2 was because Anatomy of the Fall.
Perfect Days is from Japan, and
that's some pedigree there. That's Wim Wenders. Yeah. There's like Criterion pedigree there. Then the other one from Italy is just a toss in. This
but
is
Japan,
like
I guess didn't enter Godzilla, which is a shame because.
But because Anatomy of the Fall is not here, and Society of the Snow doesn't quite have the same Netflix momentum that All Quiet on the Western Front had last year.
Right.
This is probably the spot that you give Zone of Interest something to.
Yeah,
like that's your token. It's a Best Picture nominee, and it's here in this field too. So
I'm with you. I know it's a different country, but United Kingdom.
I know it's cheating to me.
Let's
go take them over.
Yeah,
make them
take them over. Yeah, all right. Yeah. The views of Don do not reflect the views.
No, I know. Here comes the Killers of the Flower Moon slanderizing. I talked about Emma Stone's tits. It's been a great show, guys. It's been a great show. Film editing.
Anatomy of the Fall. I again haven't seen, but Holdovers. Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
So
Oppenheimer's good.
You know how if you know your Oscar stuff, the film that wins this award 60% of the time, not to turn into Sex Panther, Musk, and Cologne here, 60-something% of the time, the winner of this category goes on to win Best Picture. So some people say, "Hey, this is your little Oscar preview of Best Picture," and if this in a way is your final four or your final five of a best picture race. Now, to me, I'm that asshole that says if you have a 3-hour movie, you don't have good editing. So fuck you, Oppenheimer. Fuck you, Killers of the Flower Moon. Anatomy of Falls, 2.5 hour movie. Now, Poor Things ain't bad. And then what's that fifth?
The Holdovers.
That to me, like, I know it's crazy, but like the simplicity, and I'm trying to be that guy that like looks at the craft and not the juggernaut of Oscars, where from an editing standpoint, I mean, from a pure job, this is supposed to be The Holdovers. Like, cut a traditional, simple, tight, good movie. Killers of the Flower Moon, effusive as can be. Anatomy of the Fall is interesting because it goes back and forth between crime and court. And then Oppenheimer's going to win because of Nolan's little signature twisty bullshit, where it's like, we're going to mix three narratives and look how good I meld them together, where this is all fuckery, that he's going to do.
It's the same reason why everybody, Dunkirk, everybody went like, oh, Dunkirk. And I was like, Dunkirk was even more confusing than Oppenheimer as far as its editing goes. I like,
this is a little cleaner than Dunkirk and Tenet.
It is,
but not much.
But not by much.
No.
But it's not much cleaner than Dunkirk. Where Dunkirk, I spent the first like half hour going,
where are we going here, guys? Yeah.
Wait, why is this person, because it's not really established because there was such a jarring difference.
Even Oppenheimer, we talked about this in Ian's show.
Yeah.
I know Robert Downey Jr. might win an Oscar, but I would shave the final 40 minutes of that movie in a heartbeat. I'd shave everything from black and white from 1959. Gladly. I would.
You could have. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you got 2 3-hour movies in here, and no offense to the directors, I understand they have a lot of story there, but knowing both those films, because I've seen them both, there is fat to trim out of those, and it's the director sniffing their own farts, for lack of a better term. In all honesty,
you're also seeing here, and I'm going to say this now before we get to the other categories.
Yeah.
The last time Scorsese had a big movie at the Oscars, it was The Irishman, and he went 0 for 10.
Yeah,
it got 10 nominations and 1 bupkis.
0. Yeah.
He's going to do, unless Lily Gladstone can sneak up in Best Actress, and she has a very good chance because
she got a good chance.
Yeah, it's a fine performance from her, and it's kind of supporting actress and not Best Actress, but category for I'll be damned. And obviously representation things are behind her, and rightfully so. She's fantastic.
She is.
But other than her, and maybe some posthumous love for Robbie Robertson in a weak score year, this would be another year where I don't know about you, but I can't name a trait about Killers of the Flower Moon that's better than anything Barbie did or anything Oppenheimer did. And they're chasing each other's tails in all these arts and technical categories, where this is another spot where maybe like Thelma Schoonmaker, who's a traditional everyone loves her as an editor in Hollywood, but you're attached to the movie that no one cares about. So you're going to finish second to Oppenheimer and third to something else. So I feel like I'm going to put money on the table now. I think there's a chance Marty, for the second film in a row, goes 0-10 twice in a row. Lily's his one shot.
Lily's the one shot outside of the
Robbie in a weak score year, but I don't know.
It's hard to say, but yeah. So I would say, in all honesty, I would make it. As much as it's going to be Oppenheimer, I would actually make an argument for The Holdovers.
Me too.
If nothing else,
not an ounce of fat in that movie.
Not only is it tight, but The Holdovers, the entire film, from when you get the bumper for Universal, is set to be a 70s movie.
There's an artful craft version of that there. A degree of difficulty, a desired aesthetic that's not hard to do, or that's not easy to do.
It's not easy to capture. It did feel like a 70s movie, in all honesty. Perfect. When you watch The Holdovers, it does not feel like a modern film. It does not edit like a modern film.
No.
It plays out like the era of film it's supposed to be, and I give them mad props for that. And that's not easy to do nowadays, especially when you're gearing towards a modern audience who's used to 30 cuts within a minute.
Yeah. If there's one other Divergent nominee I would put here in editing, it's our buddy Godzilla -1.
Yeah. Oh,
because you have a grand epic thing, but the genius editing they do to use the passage of time, the years of rebuilding that ramshackle place in Japan, the relationship between the man and the woman, and the age at which things move, like the use of time in that movie is smooth as can be.
Well, I mean, and just the
And
way
great cut
they
action too, you know.
the way they cut the action, the way they cut that opening scene with
Mhm.
Godzilla on the beach in the
Oh,
beginning, where they lead you to
uh-huh.
be at invasion, and
So
he
good.
just it's like I'm like, oh
But,
man,
like, where you cut, where you show, where you don't
you
show.
do a show.
And then even when Godzilla is here taking things over, where you show the humans, where you show the sets, where you show
Mhm.
Godzilla, like, smart cuts and not Michael Bay. It's not Bayham. It's
No,
so smooth.
that
Final
train
fight.
segment, the way the train
Oh,
segment is
so
edited
good.
is
Yeah.
phenomenal. And yeah, the final whole
Oh, fighter
the
jet, the
whole
way he
third
moves,
the
you
whole
move to
third
it.
act, yeah.
Like
That
the ejector
oh,
seat reveal, like how you layer that in, like perfect. So good. So good.
that third act is cut so well together. I'd
Perfect.
watch that every day. I
I'm gonna
really
try to
would.
go this weekend and see it in black and white.
I'm hoping
Yeah.
it's showing nearby because I
Yeah.
definitely want to see it. So onward to documentary
Dart.
short film. There's a dartboard.
I can't help you here.
ABCs of book banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, Last Repair Shop, and Nanai and Waipo.
Say it again, buddy.
I probably
Dartboard. Go to
mispronounced
Vegas, find the odds, win your pool that way.
it.
I
This
do it.
one,
Yeah.
this is gonna be one to where it'll be like people clap, yay, and
Or it's
then
commercial break
or
award right there.
just before commercial
Lately.
break.
Yeah.
And no offense, because documentaries are
No,
tough
it's
to
important. We shouldn't piss
I
on it and talk
but
about it with
this
some
is
respect.
there's so many documentaries being released nowadays, and I actually
Sure.
saw some really interesting
Mhm.
documentaries, indie documentaries over there. I do watch anything more than genre films, not often,
Yeah, you do.
but if they come across my desk
Mhm.
for the review, I will review them. There's one interesting one that I read, two of them actually. One of them's from Wisconsin, and I liked it not just because it was connected to Wisconsin. It's
Yeah.
Mom and Dad's Nipple Factory. It's a
I'm down for that.
wonderful documentary about an elderly couple who wanted to make a guy who was an engineer,
Mhm.
and his wife got cancer,
Mm.
and she had mastectomies.
Yeah.
And so he, for her, designed a prosthetic
That's
nipples,
fantastic.
and they
Yeah.
started an online business quietly to
Mhm.
where they reached out to other cancer survivors who had
Mhm.
mastectomies, and they matched the color and everything, and they go through it.
Amazing.
So half of the
Yeah.
documentary is about that, and half of it's about the family dynamic where the filmmaker is not as religious. He's more of an atheist than the rest of his
Interesting.
family.
Yeah.
And you see, and he covers that. He covers how they
Mhm.
had kind of conflict and how their mom and dad, the older folks, had this business the kids knew nothing about
Yeah,
at
because this would
first.
be a prudish thing that would get pushed back in
It,
that kinda area. Yeah. That's
and
amazing, though, and what a need, you know?
and it was an amazing
Yeah.
documentary. And another one was called I think it's referred to as Banako. It's about a
Mhm.
gentleman who was in South America a long time ago filming with a film camera,
Mhm.
a tribe who weren't completely remote, but they were still is a tribe on the
Yeah.
Amazon, in the rainforest in kind of the remote area. He filmed them. He got the chance to visit and film them. And it's the story of him going back like 30 years later because he never got a chance to go back and revisiting that tribe and showing them footage of them as kids. And there,
Oh, wow.
it's the first time that tribe had seen themselves
Themselves
on camera.
in the
And
past.
yeah,
Interesting. See,
yeah,
we're
it's
growing up with baby pictures in our society, you know?
you,
Amazing. But yeah,
I mean,
that's the kinda thing. You find those
it's
diamonds in the rough.
you find those things. So I can understand this, like you said, it's a dartboard thing. It's
Unfortunately.
who has the money to be able to submit, especially for
Yeah.
documentary short film.
Mhm.
You've got your sponsors giving you enough cha-ching so you're able to submit.
That's right.
To enough to get it out there enough to get
Okay.
nominated. So,
Documentary feature.
feature
This
film.
is a hodgepodge. Look at this. It's so bad, they don't even know the producers for one of the
They
nominees.
don't even have the
Hodgepodge.
eternal memory has nobody listed.
It's as if no one made the movie like, "I heard of this one, we should nominate it." Like, what a cocktail napkin of a submission right there.
Wow.
The rest are the missing, and they've done this before, and you'll hear Ian and I talk about this. Like, if there's the American stuff on popular topics is very hit or miss at the Oscars in this category. Like the Fred Rogers one, "Won't You Be My Neighbor" from a couple years ago, which
yeah.
everyone loved. Everyone loved. Mainstream documentary didn't get nominated. You have things like that happen all the time. Probably this year's 2 kind of American-ish documentaries that have big producers is still a Michael J. Fox story from Apple. And then the Apple one, Stefan Curry's Underrated, his little biography of his youthful movement in college before he became the legendary pro basketball players. Neither one is in this field. You have pretty much predominantly foreign nominees here.
Yeah, so that's I just love how they don't even have the producers for the
it with looking at this field, watch out for 4 Daughters and 20 Days of Mariupol, because at least they've like shown up in other awards where they take a few more wedges of the dartboard up than the other ones.
Yeah,
but it's not pretty.
These are 2. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of merit in everything with
Of course
being nominated for these, but these are 2 categories that I'm not sure should be part of the televised show.
Unfortunately,
it's a hard call. I know.
Well, I'm sure I've told you this, or other people have. Like, if you can shave off Jimmy Kimmel's lame ass bits, this show can move a whole lot faster.
That's where I loved when during at least the COVID and that where they had no host.
No. Announce 2 presenters, do their little 2 bits, name some nominees, and move.
The Oscars flipped. You already have your presenters doing their monologues.
Don't need beforehand.
Anything. You don't need the host to monologue into between anymore, because you have so many more categories now. And you have other spectacles and such. You don't need the host to carry the show anymore.
No. Or what's the use of their time? Because I would love to go back and look. I've never looked at the stats, but like, how long were the Billy Crystal Oscars? How long were the Bing Crosby, the Bob Hope Oscars?
Bob Hope Oscars.
But I bet they were out of there in 2.5 hours.
Well, the Bob Hope Oscars, some of those were done at a club or whatever, and they literally were handing them out there. There weren't like dance numbers and spectacles.
So like, but even the Billy Crystal ones that have a little bit of song and dance and a bit or 2 in them, or your montages, your tributes, stuff like that. I get it, but like, we didn't used to have this 3-hour plus problem and still had an eclectic host that did good things with his time. I don't know what we're wasting our time on now. Maybe it's the presenters that take too long. I don't know.
It's hard to say. I don't know.
I wouldn't cut categories if you can just be smarter with your time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you cut out the hosts and a little bit of the fat in the show and just flip off, flip to the awards, kind of like the Globes in a way. The Globes move pretty quick because they've got so many categories, but they go from category to category.
They cover television in the same amount of time. It's crazy.
It is crazy. So
they can take a page from that book. Oh, here's
a big one. Anatomy of the Fall, Justin Treat, Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese, Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan, Poor Things, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer. Where the fuck is Greta?
I agree. And I'm that guy who says directing isn't just muscle of vision, it's what you do to juggle all the moving parts of your movie. And when you see Zone of Interest, obviously there's craft there, don't get me wrong, it's a very artfully done movie, but like the degree of difficulty of Jonathan's juggling is nowhere near the degree of difficulty of Greta's juggling. Anatomy of the Fall, fine movie as well. Courtroom film combined with murder mystery film, there's some juggling there, and obviously there's places where as a director you need to coax some performances and whatnot. I'll grant that, and it's great to see Justine, a female nominee, there compared to everything else. But those 2 movies, when I think of degree of difficulty, the complete job that the director must do nowadays, like back in the day when you just had to get your actors to do stuff, that was maybe a singular job for director because everything else was taken care of for you behind you. Nowadays it's a totalitarian job where, to me, yes, Greta Gerwig should be there, Bradley Cooper should be there, because that guy's wrote, directed, starred, and put all of that together, and like I told you before, shot all of the stuff that we're talking about on set. That's a degree of difficulty different than I'm going to move my camera real cute through an Auschwitz village and make sure I get my sound in post. No. Like that's degree of difficulty. So no, and then even if you're going to do the coach performance version of director, Past Life should be there. Alexander Payne and The Holdover should be there, especially for comedy. This is a field that could have been 6-7 deep, or there's 5 snubs that are even better than the 5 that are here. And I'll be the guy that points right to Martin Scorsese. Like, yes, he is a pedigree, honorable legend nominee. I don't see, and he's got a lot of parts to juggle. I get it. And he put himself in his own movie at the end of the damn radio show. He shouldn't be here for this movie. I'm sorry.
But
Not as a director.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in Killers of the Flower Moon that work, but there wasn't anything
That's him.
That's really him in this in the film, and it's tough because I understand, and like I said, it may sound like the asshole as well, and I'm not saying Greta.
Go ahead.
Just because. I'm not just saying, but there was a lot more involved in the direction of that versus Killers of the Flower Moon, which is basically at its core a basic crime thriller.
It shows up. You have stud actors. Roll the camera on me at the end. Nothing
you have
hard to
stud
do.
actors. Yeah. They're all doing the same thing. In fact, I'll say that Leo's performance sucked.
I agree.
In this.
I think De Niro's no great shakes either. I think he mails a little bit in. He's got a moment or two when he starts to, in his scenes where he's cajoling the Osage, like playing friend.
Well, yeah,
starting to speak in their language when he's selling his agenda from behind the scenes to the nations and the governors of the little room. Like, he can move a room there. But the rest of it. No,
but Leo got directed the wrong way. His character, the whole movie, I just did. I'm like, what are you?
And for me,
doing?
And I here we'll get to Lily. For me, Leo's so bad it pulls down Lily, who should be amazing. and Lily still might win, but at the same time, she could have been so much better with more to play with next to her, and she doesn't have it with Leo, which is shocking because we're talking about Leo. But or somebody who's traditionally meant to be a guy who doesn't mail it in every time. But no, I'm with you. I put Greta here because of degree of difficulty. You are doing song and dance. You are doing that production design. You are doing those visual effects. You're doing those transitions. You are organizing massive monologues and then small effervescent scenes along the way. Degree of difficulty, just way off the charts compared to Marty set up a camera and go.
Marty's there because Marty.
Pedigree.
Really. So costume design, yay, Barbie, hooray.
Finally. That's the spot. What's it up against here, though?
Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Okay. Barbie should grab this one.
You would hope so, man.
I would really hope so with that. Just because,
again.
Yeah, Napoleon again. I can't believe
that 4 noms.
Napoleon. Yeah,
I would have never gave it. Wow.
I can't believe. But this should be Barbie's to win because the way they replicated so exact all the costumes of the Barbie dolls in it. I mean, too exact,
and accurate to previous dolls, which is stunning. Stunning. Are there nominees you'd put there instead from some of the more genre things we love and enjoy?
Wonka. I'm surprised.
Color Purple.
I put Wonka versus Napoleon. Color Purple over.
I'm a comic book guy like you. The amount of costume work and creativity in something like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 deserves to be there.
There was.
I know people don't put love on those, but I would.
There was some wild costumes in that.
Totally.
So I could see that, but definitely Wonka over this for what they put together.
Poor Things is very good costumes. Yeah. In an artful movie, that belongs. Killers of the Flower Moon is there because of period dress, and again the sweep of a big nominee. Oppenheimer there? Yeah. See, to me.
It's the period piece angle of it.
I'm that guy who would look for more creativity where if you're doing period piece and you want to do something unique, The Holdovers would be a neat costume nominee here. Another one that would be a fun costume nominee and non-traditional would be The Iron Claw, the wrestling movie. Now, I know you're getting guys in tights, but you still got to be Texas 70s a little bit. There's some fun there. Yeah. Where it's a combination of showy and then domestic. And I think all of that can play as well. Another good costume nominee would be, I had one in mind. Not Napoleon, that's for sure. Even a little bit of Maestro. You're going for very, it's a man of elegance doing elegant formal wear, and the passage of time between the 40s and the 80s, like you cover a lot of period there too. There's nominees I'd put there instead for sure.
There definitely is. Other than this, and now we're getting to cinematography, which you're gonna
This is a
have to
tough
help.
one. I'll help you. Yeah.
You're gonna have to help me with this one. We've got El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Okay.
El Conde.
Now I have not seen it. Now Edward Lockman is a legit cinematographer. He's normally he's normally Todd Haynes' cinematographer. So stuff like Wonderstruck, stuff like Carol. He does some very good work. He's been nominated before, so he's kind of he's a cinematographer among cinematographers kind of name. I've not seen the movie. I'm surprised there's not a double here for Rodrigo Prieto. Rodrigo Prieto has been Martin Scorsese's cinematographer for the last several movies, and Killers of the Flower Moon admittedly has solid camera work.
It does,
but his other movie of the same year is Barbie, and to me, Barbie again has impeccable camera work, especially when you're working within those sets, within these song and dance numbers, hitting cues, hitting marks. Again, the degree of difficulty there is even more so than his other film of Killers of the Flower Moon. Oppenheimer deserves to be there. That's a big photographic movie. You shoot that thing in IMAX and it looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
Is Poor Things there? I haven't seen.
Poor
Things deserves to be there. That's kind of a gimmick one where Lanthimos does his little fisheye thing that he does.
Oh, okay, sure.
And it's used to probably its best effect yet, because I get tired of Lanthimos and the fisheye stuff sitting in corners of rooms where I'm like, where are you going here? But for this movie, it plays, or it finally works to me.
Sure.
Where that one deserves to be there, but
and Maestro is
and Maestro's Lee Batik, where if you remember A Star Is Born, the same cinematographer that Cooper used there, they really relied on close-ups. Like they stayed real close in big performances, in big moments. They're singing almost right on top of that camera lens. Lee Batik and Cooper kind of go for the medium shots in this one, where they there's places where you can be in your face, but there's more power to the mid, because this man is manning and he's working an entire room. He's working an entire orchestra. It's not one man drunk on a stage like A Star Is Born, so you can step back and play very medium shots and full shots, and it looks good. That's a deserving nominee.
It's sad that you can only have the 5, because I'm gonna say it again. I don't care. I will champion the fucking movie. Godzilla -1. The cinematography in that,
high, low, everything.
For a Godzilla film, much less just a film, is really well done in that.
I'll throw an action nominee in here. You can make arguments because of to me it's as good of camera work as it is editing, but like how you shoot John Wick 4 ain't bad. How you shoot Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is pretty strong too. I mean, you strap a camera to some people's backs and some cars, you're jumping off cliffs. There's some balls there. More balls than shooting a village in Osage County, Oklahoma.
Well, especially with John Wick, because John Wick, you have those long stunt sequences that you have to film to where you got to make sure your camera works in the right spot where it looks good and you're not seeing the strings or whatnot, if you will. And some of those,
I'm with you. I think action cinematography is underrated cinematography, because and people think, oh, it's just trashy and it's all editing, but like, no, the setups for that are massive. And like you said, to hit every mark and not show the strings is way harder than I'm going to sit in the corner and watch my 2 actors pour the little hard sound. Shut up.
If any, however you feel about the John Wick series, cinematography in John Wick series has been insane.
Yeah.
It is.
I remember the 3rd movie with the dogs.
Yeah.
Where just like it moves with the dogs, just mauling people with the speed of the dogs moving. Stunning.
Well, and then with that too, you can capture stuff in the back with the John Wick film. It's not just the action between our 2 principals and everybody else is standing around. There's stuff going all over, and the camera catches it.
Because they're shooting, they're like you said with the stunt work, they're on sets, they're interacting with their environment. You're in a room getting books and stuff knocked over. It's crazy,
John Wick 4 had that wonderful scene where it moves to a top-down footage, which is amazing and just out of not expected. And then the whole fight scene on the roundabout, I mean, you're right. Where horror gets
Horror 2.
snubbed with
Horror 2.
performances, and horror too with cinematography, but especially with
Mhm.
performances. Action films definitely
Yeah.
get snubbed for cinematography, which is sad because of the
Yeah.
work that goes into those films.
And like the most cinematic shot of Killers of the Flower Moon, or some establishing shots,
Some
like
long establishing
some
shots,
long
yeah.
some like when the car race in the streets, when
Yeah.
Leo's meeting Lily, maybe your establishing shot coming down to show the mining town when he arrives. Great, 2 shots in a 3-hour movie. Come on, what else looks good? And then I'll even put up Oppenheimer. Now I know Hoyt Van Hoytema is here because he shoots in IMAX and he shoots big. And he makes little things look big, especially this movie, where
Right.
this movie's in here for cinematography purely from the Trinity test.
Oh yeah.
And I get why. That's a big showy piece, but like, I'm with you. Degree of difficulty. Godzilla should be here. Creator should be here, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that's all shot on location. 80 locations shot in that movie. Where that's on a stage. So yeah, it's action cinematography. It's a shame that doesn't get attention.
It just gets snubbed,
Yeah.
horror.
Or it's my dorky cooking one where you're like looking over bowls.
Or your dorky cooking.
It's a cute. When you see it, you'd be like,
"Oh,
"Oh, look at the camera do that." It's a stupid little novelty thing, but it works. I'm telling you. This category,
animated feature film.
This category.
The Boy and the Heron, I heard, is really good. It's Miyazaki.
Well, it's Miyazaki, and it might be his last.
And it might be
yeah,
okay.
That's you're genuflecting there.
Pixar
still wins. Pixar still has clout. Nimona is a really cool LGBT fantasy one on Netflix.
I heard really good things about Nimona. It's on my list. Absolutely. Robot Dreams.
Robot Dreams is there's always one. There's always one micro budget, non-traditional, hand-drawn thing that makes the field. This is the one. It's from Neon. So it's got some studio backing and it's a foreign one, but it's a robot dreaming to be human, as it sounds like it is here. And that's your token foreign / non-traditional nominee. There's always one.
Yeah.
But normally that's The Boy and the Heron, because you already
you would
the Miyazaki card,
But at least Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is in here, rightfully so. I'm
and it's going to rake.
That. And I'd be
stunned if it lost.
I would be stunned too if it lost, for sure. And Ray weighs in. He's animated feature comes down to Spider-Man and Boy and the Heron. Spider-Man was literally breathtaking to achieve it, but I vote for the Swan. So yeah, that's the only
reason.
Horse.
Yeah, or
the only dark horse for it.
Well,
losing to Boy and the Heron,
or it's the Lord of the Rings syndrome where there's one more Spider-Man coming, and it's the big grand conclusion of the trilogy. Do you wait to honor it at the end versus in the middle?
Right. And do you give it to Miyazaki because it could be his last one this year, and then you give it to Spider-Verse next year? And like you said, the Return to the King, the Return to the King one, which was the Oscar for the trilogy, not for the film.
Oh yeah. So I haven't seen Boy and the Heron. I hear it's weird and trippy, but it's still pure Miyazaki, where if this is the shot to give the Grandmaster an Oscar, we've seen it before. Neil Morricone winning score in a year where he reuses thing cues. Come on.
And if there's one person I guess I could swallow having Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse lose to, it'd be to Miyazaki. I'd be like, okay,
greatest to ever do it, right? Yeah. You lose to Tom Brady on his best day.
Exactly.
So I'm with you, Ray. You're right. It's between those two, no doubt about it. The other ones should just be happy.
All right. Awesome. So now we're back to Emily Blunt for Cocaine Bear. No wait.
I wish.
I would have loved to see
Margaret Martindale for the Cocaine Bear, playing the zany park ranger trying to get some sex. Mauled by an ambulance. I would love Margaret Martindale.
I would have loved to see Cocaine Bear, just because you would have to have the Oscars say and Cocaine for Cocaine
Oh my
Bear.
gosh, it'd be great.
That'd be beautiful.
I would put Cocaine Bear up for makeup. Visual effects ain't bad.
Sure.
There's spots. Or she gets some love.
That sequence with the ambulance and the bear alone.
So good.
Come on,
or the room and the door. There's so many.
So we've got Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph, and this is actress in a supporting role. I'm for Davine, in all honesty.
And she's been raking it. She has not lost a major battle yet.
And
And
don't get me wrong, I liked
yeah.
America. Don't get me
Oh,
wrong, I liked America. But when you
yeah,
come to importance of a supporting character,
true. Oh,
her
Devine. Yeah,
performance in
she's so
there, hands down,
oh, yeah.
adds so
Yeah.
much.
And it truly slots correctly as a supporting character, and
Right.
like you said, a vital one. The movie would not be the same without her. If you
Mhm.
as much as I love America Ferrera's big monologue in Barbie, and it's an all-timer from a monologue standpoint,
Mhm.
you take that out of the movie and someone else can give that monologue and you'd be
Mhm.
fine. Danielle Brooks is in any other year, that's the stick that stirs the drink. That's like your Rita Moreno, who's the spicy, eclectic, powerful second actress in the
Right.
ensemble in a big
Mhm.
musical film, the way that Rita Moreno won for West Side Story, and then Ariana DeBose won for the
Right.
Rita Moreno part in West Side Story. Like, who's that next female lead that's just powerful? You can't take your eyes off her. That's Danielle Brooks in Color Purple. But in any other year, that's a fantastic place for her. But you're going up against Devine Randolph, who just is linchpin to the film.
She
Emily
is.
Blunt is there for pedigree's sake, and it's
Mhm.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster's there for resume, for being a former winner. It's a nice part.
Mhm.
And it's better than I thought it was going to be. Like, Nyad is on Netflix. It's not bad to see.
Okay.
Annette Bening is way better than her as a lead actress. And
Mhm.
I was rooting for her to be in this field, not at the expense of people we're going to talk about. But I thought that Jodie Foster part as like a coach was just going to be a lot of clapping and whistleblowing. It's better than that, but I don't know if it's the 5 best things of the year.
Sure.
She's very good, but you can
Mhm.
put a few other people there.
But yeah, I'm happy to see Randolph on there, and I'm really pulling for her,
Stunner if she
you
doesn't
know.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. She's a
Mhm.
supporting actress who's a part that comes out that you don't expect her role to be as vital as it is to the
Exactly.
story. And you're right.
Yeah.
It
For the
adds.
first You're right. For the first 40 minutes of the movie, like, oh, it's just the girl, the lady in the kitchen. But then
Yeah,
she grows, and the movie
yeah.
grows with her, and it's amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. So
Um, you
go
keep it
ahead.
going. No,
All right.
if you're the prognosticator who's thinking of your bets, as usual, to me, one of the best precursors lately, if you're that Oscar pool
Mhm.
person in the room, watch those Screen Actors Guild Awards in a couple of weeks. Like,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
there's like 80 to
Those are
90% match
heavy
to what the
predictors.
future
Yeah,
Oscars are. So, actress and
absolutely.
leading.
Actress in leading,
Oh
Annette
boy.
Bening, you just mentioned
Yep.
Nyad, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a
Mhm.
Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, and
Braveheart.
Emma Stone for Poor Things.
This is hard. I mean, well, I'll tell you what it is. You go first.
I mean, I haven't seen all the films, but
I
just
have.
from the
Yeah,
people involved, I would pull for Lily Gladstone.
I
The only
get it.
person,
Yeah.
the person out of this that I would see would be the surprise, yet not because of the buzz that the film's got, would be Emma Stone for Poor
Yeah.
Things.
So this comes down to, do you give Emma Stone a second Oscar, or do you make that big representation moment
For
for
Lily
Lily Gladstone
Gladstone, yeah.
in a very fine part? Like,
Right.
she's not winning for tokenism, she's winning
Mm-mm.
for a darn good part. But the hard part is Emma Stone is really, really like career best good. Like, if we
That's
thought
what
she
I've
was,
heard.
that's the thing. Like, if you thought she was good in La La Land, she's on another planet in Poor Things, and
Mhm,
that's almost undeniable how good she is.
mhm.
Where if yeah, if Lily has to lose
It'd be
to
to
a
Emma Stone,
maligned
yeah.
Scorsese film, you're losing to an actress of today on her best game, which is possible.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again, is this the one spot to give Poor Things something? But here we go again. Is this the one spot to throw a
to
bone at
give
Killers
yeah,
of the Flower Moon?
yeah.
Um, no Margot Robbie there.
Mhm,
Sandra Huller is very good in Anatomy of a Fall. That's a showy part of a
mhm.
mother at the middle of a murder investigation. It's a big part. The other one who's there, Annette Bening, that's a 65-year-old actress who put herself through the physical paces to do endurance swimming and make it look credible on camera. And it's Annette Bening, who, if I remember correctly, has also never won.
Right,
So there,
yeah.
that's kind of your Glenn Close veteran spot there,
Mhm.
where it's a strong field, because if you have those five and you still don't have Margot Robbie, I mean, I know
Yeah.
less people have seen Nia, and I know less people have seen Anatomy of Fall. Uh, as much as I'll help people yell about Margot Robbie, the five that are here are hard to
Or
knock off
just
the
yeah,
pedestal. It's
yeah.
pretty. It's some good stuff there.
And we got our Facebook user,
Yeah,
I'm not sure who it is mentioning, but so glad you joined us. And yes, Davine Joy Randolph and Lily Gladstone are the front runners, and yes,
yeah.
and they agree. Emma Stone in Poor Things is at her career best
I
too. So
I love Lily. I think I think the part gave up on her more than she gave up on the part.
I think the director gave up on her,
Thank
in
you.
all honesty. Yeah,
Agreed.
and
She
yeah,
disappears in that second
I'm
act.
saying that about, oh my god, but
Same.
I think
She made the most. Yeah.
Scorsese was more focused with getting Leo and his
Agreed.
buddies than getting Lily Gladstone more of the direction she
I agree.
deserved, because she makes the most of the part that's given to her,
Or
but I
yes.
don't think she was directed
No.
well.
Or that's the spot where you need to spend the most time because that's where your empathy comes from.
Right.
It's not from rooting for Robert and Leo as the criminals. You
No.
need to root for her, wallow with her, suffer with her, and you don't because she disappears off screen. So yeah, I mean, it's it's a great part for Lily. It's rare that anyone of her ilk gets that spot, even though she's an accomplished indie actress with
Mhm.
center it's certain women and things like that. And she had another movie earlier this year showing up and stuff. But it's it's the part doesn't do any favors for her. Where again, you're on Emma Stone on her best day,
Yeah.
batting 1,000. Thank you, Facebook user. I
And
am right about Annette Bening. Like
it says
this is the best she's been in 1,000 years too. Like this is
so
the
this
best she's been since American Beauty.
so this is this
Yeah.
is the tough category. Out of
It's
all these
really
categories,
hard.
this is probably one of the
It's
toughest.
I mean, it's a two-horse race,
Sure.
but it's nice that like and same thing, Sandra Huller is an extremely respected foreign actress.
Mhm.
Tony Erdmann, she's done a lot of German and English things where this is her showiest role and biggest Hollywood splash to date. But it's one of those things where, yeah, that's great, Sandra, but there's that girl Emma over there who's really good, and then there's that Lily girl who would really make us win some points for representation. Where we'll see you
Yeah.
next time, Sandra. Looks like you got a lot of movies in you. So yeah,
Yeah. So moving on, then we're almost done here, folks. But we've got actor in a supporting role. We've got Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon,
Mhm.
Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. This
How
seems
do you
like
feel about
another
this one?
tougher category.
Uh,
I would say
yeah.
probably Robert out of all of them. Don't get me wrong, I like
Which
Ryan.
Robert?
Sorry,
There's two there.
Downey Jr.
He won that Critics' Choice Award recently. He won the Astor Award from HTA recently. I think The Separator will be SAG. We've talked about that. I think De Niro of all people should be damn happy to be there.
Yeah,
Just
he
like-
should, because that performance was not a worthy Oscar.
Now, I'll say it at the same time that other people said it today on the buzz that you weren't looking at. Robert De Niro is kind of category fraud. He's a co-lead.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, as much as I love him, and I love Ryan Gosling, like that's comedic dynamo stuff that he did, and it's so hard to do. People don't respect comedy.
Oh, comedy is hard to do.
So hard to do, and to make a fool of yourself that long and do that many things as Ryan did, it's off the charts to me. Like to me, from a degree of difficulty, like we've talked about in other categories, he should be running away and hiding with this Oscar. But that also, in a way, is a little bit of category fraud because he's a lead. Let's just be honest. Which leaves Ruffalo, which is a nice part, the Marvel guy doing something indie, nowhere near as good as something like Robert Downey. Downey, we talked about it on the Oppenheimer show with Ian. I think it's the best performance in the entire movie.
Oh, it is.
Even if it's the most unnecessary, Downey Jr. does not miss a beat.
No.
And you need that guy to emerge as a villain where you don't kind of have one until then. So it's an important part, and the Oppenheimer wave is true in there. Sterling K. Brown, this is a nice nomination for a guy crossing over from TV. Obviously, he's an Emmy winner for This Is Us. He plays a very complicated part as kind of the gay other brother in American Fiction in a comedy. Again, a bone thrown in comedy. He's really good. It's nowhere near where the other people are, but for Sterling, he'll take it to be on this stage.
Yeah. And again, I think Downey, just because, like you said, Oppenheimer, and he was kind of very key. I would be happy with Ryan Gosling, though, because I think Gosling, he puts in a surprise performance. Everybody goes, "Holy crap, that's that's the Nicholas Weffren guy. That's the Nicholas Weffren guy."
Did anyone really holy shit Robert Downey Jr.?
No,
because I think we saw him and go, yep, that's as good
was
as he
solid.
Is. I thought he would do that because that's him. But Ryan Gosling had to blow your doors off.
He was just a surprise considering the previous roles he had taken so far with Driver and Only God Forgives and all of those, and you're just like, wait, this is the quiet action guy, and all of a sudden he's doing straight up.
People forget. I mean, did you ever see Crazy Stupid Love?
Yes, he was great. I love
Genius
Crazy
comedian.
Stupid Love.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live. He's great when he shows up. He's got those chops. He never uses them, and it's really cool when he finally does.
It
And the
is.
most total use of his powers that you can do.
So
Charisma, looks, all of it.
he could be the upset,
Comedy.
but it'll
I would
probably be
love an
Robert Downey, but it would be a
Yeah.
great upset. And we've got it here too. They missed the mark in Killers of the Flower Moon when it comes to empathy with us Indigenous folks.
Hold the
The
wrong side of the story.
representation is so important now. And you're
Agreed.
right. So it's great they had the representation. I kind of wish it was with a better director or
Or
better screenplay, I should
let
say.
them lead their own movie.
Or
Like,
let them lead their own.
you know,
yeah,
have
exactly.
Leo and Robert be your haunting presences on the side
Yeah.
while a central character must go through that ordeal. Don't stay there in the criminals all the time.
No.
Marty, I've seen
No.
this story. It's called
Yeah,
God.
it would have been.
Goodfellas.
I was more fascinated by the history I didn't know about the Osage
Same.
people when they introduce it and talk
Yep.
about how they actually took advantage of the oil on their land and
Exactly.
became, high rollers. That's
Mhm.
something you don't normally hear in
Agreed.
history of, the indigenous people actually becoming kind of high rollers. So that
Yeah.
I found interesting. I found
Totally.
that
Show me that
story
rise and fall
far more interesting
from the inside.
than the
Another
dunce
crime movie.
that was Leo the entire movie. His
Mhm.
character was just the dunce. I'm
I
like,
know.
oh my lord.
And
And then your Facebook user also said Ryan Gosling played his heart out. I'd be pleased if you win. I
I'm
would
rooting for him.
too.
I'm rooting for him. I know it's
I-
category for Aubrey Lee, but I'm rooting for him.
I am rooting for him too. And yes, definitely more native directors and actors
Please.
are out there.
Please.
There are. That's the
Yeah.
thing, is it's not like it's a small pool of people.
Mhm.
There's plenty out there looking for that chance. And it just takes a studio getting the balls to go, okay, let's go with this. Because
Is Sterling the only nominee of color in that supporting actor film?
yes.
Okay. They got one.
They
So
got,
we can't-
they got
I
one
know.
in there. So,
This
yeah.
is but I admit though,
Yeah.
this is a tough year where
It is a tough
it's hard to deny De Niro's resume in a big popular movie. Downey was never not being in that category. Gosling
Yeah.
was never not being in that category. Ruffalo is a big enough name in the other indie movie that people love. The field is not as deep here. I'm that guy who would have said one of the boys from Iron Claw. I would have said Holden Callahan, or I would have said Harris Dickinson. But again, you're splitting hairs, and they're probably competing against their own vote. But that's also adding another white male in case that's an issue. So
yeah.
yeah.
And our Facebook user said, my father told me back in the day it was big news about the Osage. It's wild how people today don't know about those stories. And
those stories we keep coming up because they don't make textbooks, like the Tulsa race riots.
Right.
You're not going to tell that story from the point of view of the people who burned the city. Tell that story from the people who endure it.
Yeah.
And Killers of the Flower Moon doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Misses the mark there.
Oh,
and our last one, we are going to be wrapping up, folks, but our last one here, actor in a leading role, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, no surprise. Coleman Domingo for Rustin. I'm not familiar with that movie at all. Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Now I haven't seen Jeffrey Wright. I heard really good things, and I haven't seen Rustin or Maestro, but
you've seen Paul Giamatti.
I've seen Paul Giamatti, and I think Paul Giamatti's performance is one of his career. I mean, it's hard to look at him and go, wait, he was in Amazing Spider-Man as a bad rhino. This guy,
he's been painted blue in a Cody. What's the kid name from the Michael Middle movie? He's done everything. But no, this is Paul G. I mean, and we've seen this often with the Oscars. We've seen Anthony Hopkins beat Chadwick Boseman. We've seen older actors beat younger actors a lot, where this feels like the spot that the old master finally wins one. And again, a bone thrown towards comedy. And when they do throw a bone towards comedy, it's usually in the dramedy fashion. And sometimes when an old master comes and does it, like when Jack Nicholson won for As Good as It Gets in 1997. Now, Jack Nicholson, a legend, he didn't need another Oscar. But when he won his third for As Good as It Gets, it's for a comedy drama part, much a curmudgeon who does enough drama to be drama, but does enough comedy to keep us on our toes. I mean, Nicholson's done it. Many people have done it in this very category, where this is Giamatti. If it's not Giamatti, same kind of idea, but only maybe he went up against the wrong guy in the wrong year. You can do the same argument for Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright has done everything: Hunger Games movies, Batman movies, little stuff, big stuff,
Yeah.
sci-fi, important work. He's made a buffoon of himself. I remember when he was Peoples Hernandez in Shaft, where he was the most despicable Puerto
Yes.
Rican weirdo villain in the world. And that guy is up for an Oscar this year, and an equally kind of curmudgeon part that Giamatti's got in easily the best mix of satire and heart of the year, where like the social commentary of that movie that's blended with family drama is as balanced as you're going to find in American fiction, because it speaks on race and what it looks like and how should they be represented and all that. So Jeffrey Wright's got a nice, big, important part. And again, he's another one of those veteran guys who's one of those consummate supporting players who's never gotten a big bite at a juicy part and finally has one, but he goes up against Paul Giamatti. So Coleman Domingo, same thing, but he's got a little more youth on his side, where Coleman will be back again, because this is a nice part for Coleman Domingo. Same thing. He plays Rustin, who is the organizer of the Million Man March in Washington.
Oh,
DC.
okay.
He's the man, historically the man who put all that together, but an openly gay male to do it. And that's hard to do in the 60s and when you're black.
Yeah.
And he sells that part top to bottom with his personal life and the professional life he tried to do, butting heads against the NAACP to make that event happen. So history, epic, all the things. It's on Netflix.
And Bradley's already got one. So
no, well, Bradley's never won an Oscar. And here
no,
again,
that's true, but yeah, that's true.
But I mean, this and when you see Maestro, undeniably the center of energy of that movie, like not a bigger part he could possibly do than this. So, and then what's the odd man out here? What's the fifth one we missed?
Cillian Murphy, who
in the biggest movie of the year and the biggest thing he's ever done. So this is a murderer's row of consummate supporting players who get a lead bite at the apple, and they're all good.
Yeah,
you can argue that any of them should win, and you wouldn't bat an eye.
Any of them would deserve it. Yeah, but
so to me, if we're handicapping this for money again, this is old. How much of this is old favorite for Giamatti, who's been winning some awards lately, and how much of this is the best thing Cillian Murphy's ever done in the biggest movie of the year?
Though I don't know. In all honesty, I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked Murphy's performance. At the same time, it was Murphy playing a variation of characters Murphy's.
Well, isn't it Giamatti kind of doing all the sarcastic Giamatti stuff we've seen too, though? A little bit. Like if you're going for pure chameleon, like who transformed? It's Bradley Cooper. It really is, because Jeffrey Wright's doing Jeffrey Wright. Sure. Coleman's doing a black man with hard things to do.
Sure.
He could do that, but pure transformation, putting the makeup on, learning to conduct an orchestra, it's Bradley Cooper. Yeah. But no one, he's like fourth in this race right now. It's crazy. Ray's got a good one here.
Ray's got a good one here. Barry Keoghan not only deserved the Best Actor nod for Saltburn, but also I feel his performance was stronger and more daring than the superb performances in the category frontrunners Murphy and Giamatti. This is that's what's interesting. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. I saw Saltburn.
How do you feel about Barry's spot in a spot like this?
He was very good. In it. I think the actor in a lead role category is just like what we were talking about earlier tonight. Which thank you everybody for sticking with us. I mean,
wow, 2 hours. I know. I see it.
We're as long as I don't mind. I don't mind. We're still shorter than the Oscars, but
we are shorter than the Oscars.
I've been loving this conversation. But actor in a lead role and actress in the lead role, out of all the categories the Oscars has this year, are probably the two categories where you could have put at least 4 other people in these categories. And that I don't mind. You know, it's sad to see who didn't make it and who did, but at the same time, that shows you the talent out there, and that makes
great. Because like if you go back to actress, Margot, Kaylee Spaney, who plays Priscilla, is really, really, really good. You got Greta Lee in Past Lives. If you want to go, you can do the girl in Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret. You know, like you can go 5 deep in Best Actress. Now we're talking about Barry Keoghan, and like I think the hard part for Barry Keoghan is, are we just he's like Irish Ben Foster to me, where he's the twitchy weirdo no matter what he does, and that's kind of the one. Now he can obviously dial twitchy weirdo up, but like when you see Banshees of Inisherin, a
Yeah.
year ago. You see him in Dunkirk. You see him in Killing of the Sacred Deer. You see him in Saltburn. He's kind of the same twitchy weirdo all the time and has this smoldering weird, I think I want to fuck him hotness. So it's kind of a weird, like, that's his one move. Now, who can tap into that move and give him the most to do? It was Saltburn. It's the best
Yeah.
he's ever been. But he's going up against 5 vets. Good luck.
It was probably one of his best performances in Saltburn. Is probably the best performance he had. But you also, I could see the Oscars. I could see him not getting it because the Oscars looking at it. Well, how much of that was script and direction, and how much of that was acting? Because it's a quirky script.
Yeah,
he's playing a very odd character. It's got some shocking scenes in it. The way it's directed and everything, it's dark. So I could just see that. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying, looking at it from possibly Oscar folks' point of view, is his performance actually him, or how much he's been given direction to do?
Because the other thing is, and you're talking about the depth here, like if you want to do Barry, you want to do Leo DiCaprio because pedigree says he should be there. You can do Michael Fassbender in The Killer. You can do you've got some, take anybody from Air. You want to take Matt Damon from Air? Viola Davis, what didn't get a supporting nom. That's another shutout movie. You could do Michael Pena in A Million Miles Away. You could do Gal Garcia Bernal in the wrestling movie Cassandra. Like there's 5 deep. You could go Zac Efron in The Iron Claw. Like there's some you can go 10 deep. And who do you pick? It looks like they went veteran here, and
they did,
and you pick, and it's still a tough choice. I'm with you. The odds probably say this is Murphy versus Giamatti. Do you favor comedy? Or do you favor drama? They both won the Golden Globe. SAG should separate the two. That'll be interesting. But yeah, it's.
I think,
who do you like? What's an actor what's a little thing that you didn't see get in here? You see enough movies. I got an oddball one that you'll never pick.
The most I see usually, I mean, I see stuff in the theater, sure, but the most stuff I'm watching indie stuff. So,
but you got a lead actor even from an indie you'd throw in here?
Lead actor from an indie film that I would throw in here. Well, it's a film that's gotten some traction and such, and it's an indie film that I've been kind of talking up. And it's called Mickey Hardaway.
Okay.
I got a chance to talk to Marcellus Cox, who's the director of it. The young sketch artist in that film, the young man playing Mickey, was fantastic in it. Rashad Hunter.
I don't know.
Rashad Hunter, he was really good in it. I thought he was just fantastic in it. And David Chapman is in it as well as his dad. He was fantastic in it as well. And those two, those are very strong performances for the movie that they're in. And and it's a drama. I know. Oh my God, Mark, you're recommending an indie drama? Yes,
but it's indie. That's the fun part. I got one too. It played like at South by Southwest over a year ago. It made a debut in last February. Jim Gaffigan in Linoleum.
I've heard of Linoleum. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
It's I think it's on Amazon Prime. It was made by Shout Studios, and he plays a children's science TV host who's going through a bad divorce and marriage and just getting really disillusioned at work, and he starts to kind of have dreams and visions. He thinks he finds a NASA rocket that crashed in his backyard, and he thinks he can rebuild it to go into space and finally be a real astronaut and not a TV show host. And you would never think that premise could work in a quirky way. And no spoilers here, but like none of what he is envisioning is what it seems at all. And it all comes crashing forward of what's really going on, what's he really seeing, what's he really doing, all in the third act. And it's a crescendo of jaw-dropping mystery and huge sympathy. From all people, Jim Gaffigan, delivering a dramedy performance for the ages that I haven't seen in a long time. But again, no one's seen it. These are things that even Independent Spirit Award won't give. So we got good taste in other places.
we do, but Mickey Hardaway's on Tubi if anyone's interested. I highly recommend it.
But from your buzz The shutouts of the day are like nothing from Iron Claw, nothing from a movie
Air.
called nothing from Air, nothing from All of Us Strangers, which was kind of a
Mhm.
little indie movie that could from LGBT audiences. Nothing from Origin, which is Ava DuVernay who did Selma and is a a
Right.
real good racial kind of totem movie, very very good movie. It's my number 2 of the year. Nothing from no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, no Super Mario Brothers, no. So some of the kid stuff's not there. Nothing from Wish.
Mhm.
Nothing from Air, like you said, nothing from Saltburn.
Yeah.
Lots of shutouts here. Where by the time you see Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Barbie and Poor Things is kind of your top 4, it feels very chalk. Feels
Mhm.
like, oh, those are the ones that spend the most money and get the most play.
Well,
No
and
wonder they're there.
and I wonder, in all honesty, I wonder if it's what we've talked about before, what I've talked about on our podcast, the Spoiler Room, um, and what I keep using as the term of we've hit critical mass media is the term I
Yep.
use,
Yep.
and I
I
think
hear
it's
you.
fitting. I think we've hit critical mass media to where there's so many films that were released, especially
Mm,
last year,
yeah.
that not everybody got a chance to watch them. They watched the buzz ones, the ones that they heard either word of mouth or whatnot, but they might not necessarily, or avoided ones because they talked to people because it was weird rather than
Hmm.
forming their own opinion. They only have somebody to vote on, and they're just like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch all of these,
We just
you
had
know.
an Emmys that did the same thing where there's, and that's probably even worse, where
Mhm.
there's so much television, broadcast, cable, prestige TV, streaming TV. There's more TV than there is movies, and yet we
Yeah.
get to the Emmys and it seems like the same 3 movies win everything. Or I'm sorry, the same 3 shows win everything.
Shows.
Where
Yeah.
how responsible are those voters who are you really seeing everything you're supposed to be seeing?
Mhm.
And even if you didn't see everything, did you even see all the nominees? And
Mhm.
there's always those like Oscar insider bombastic little emails that make like the op-ed sections of these Hollywood rags that were like somebody revealed their Oscar ballot, here's who they voted for.
Yeah.
And there's always that asshole who gets submitted for that article who's like, yeah, I didn't watch that one, I just voted for the one I liked. Or
Uh-huh.
they sent me a disc, this one didn't, so I voted for that one. Like the amount of incompetence and laziness
Mhm.
collectively on a voting branch of what's supposed to be the most important thing in the industry is kind of pathetic. It's
Yes.
ugly. It's ugly.
It really is, and
And then the money, the campaign
it's
finance reform that we don't
yeah.
have.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because and it makes you wonder as it comes up every year.
Yep.
And we'll wrap up here, but it comes up every year. But I think it's even more now in the last couple of years with the sheer volume of stuff being released now and streaming and that.
Hmm.
How relevant really are these awards and how
Fair
much
point.
are they actually a representation of what's out there?
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
these awards and that, some of them long history. I mean, the fucking Oscars, 95 was 95 or 96th, edition of
Hmm.
the, 90 some years when it was instilled, it was a far different reason.
Right.
And there were far less
Right.
than there are now. The sheer volume of stuff out there, you're going to end up getting
Hmm.
snubs.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, and don't get me wrong, I think people should be honored in the post, Hamas, the in memorandum section.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in all honesty, there's so many great talent that unfortunately are no longer with us
Hmm.
that they look at it going, do we want this segment to be 10 minutes long?
Right. Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, why do it at all? What
Agreed. Or that could be put that as a splash page on your webpage the night of the show.
put it on
That
the website and put a
because it's
whole
it's 4 minutes of pity claps.
yeah.
You know. The other thing I'll say is and with more movies, luckily, even though it's not as widely seen because the Oscars still kind of get the biggest pedigree and the biggest eyes and the prize, the biggest Q rating. Luckily, out there are more award shows coming around that spread the wealth a little bit, or at least change their
Right.
electorate, or become a little bit more
Mhm.
unique with their voting, and it's helping. For example, like as much as the Oscars have kind of had this weird split between very populist and very cinephile hard, like when you have Parasite and John Q. Mom and Dad from the Central Red Belt states aren't going to watch a Korean film. Like you've got this weird line where they tiptoe between wanting to have a little populist, wanting to have a little cinephile. And then when you have the indies, the nice part is there's a place for them, and it's the night before in the Independent Spirit Awards where
Yeah.
that red carpet and that night has become as big as the Oscars when it comes to attendance,
Mhm.
star power, thankfulness, industry pub, like the Critics' Choice being a critics body and not an Academy body of lazy
Right.
voters. Like some emerging award shows that are getting some play that at least spread a little wealth, put a little more reverence on some of these things, and
Mhm.
get a few more right, maybe, where it's hopeful.
Well,
The
let me
last thing I'll leave you with
go ahead.
is,
Yeah.
because you didn't catch the social media, and now you can. The best meme I've seen today is
Mhm.
about Barbie and the whole patriarchy, where someone said Greta didn't get nominated, Margot didn't get nominated, but Ryan did. This is the exact plot of the movie Barbie,
Yeah,
where the guy
that
gets
is
the honor.
definitely the plot of
That's my
Barbie.
parting thing is
Yeah.
welcome. Like Barbie got 8 noms, and we're still hating on
Yeah,
everyone
we're
else that
still
didn't get it. So
and,
funny.
our Facebook watchers said, "Thank you both for a wonderful discussion." They got lovely new items to watch. Thank you, Don,
You betcha.
for joining in on this,
Yeah.
discussion, and, I'm gonna plug one more,
Yeah.
and not just because I've known the gentleman for years, not just because, I've helped follow what he's helped take part in and establish and create, but the Hollywood Creative Alliance's Astra Awards have
Mhm.
come a long way in
They
just
have.
5 years to where
Mhm.
they're getting coverage by bigger named
They
Hollywood
are.
folks. They are getting folks' names to show up at their awards show
Mhm.
that are giving these shows out because they are, if you look at their picks in that, are more
Mhm.
bolder picks than what
Right.
you've seen at some of the other awards because the Hollywood Creative Associate, they focus on diversity and
They do.
focusing on stuff that might get lost in the weeds.
Mhm.
And so that's another example of the
Yeah.
awards show,
The Astros are rising. I know HCA's had their headlines and some issues lately, but what they're trying to do with awards, and that's a voting body that's expanding, where it started as critics, now it's become a little. It's going to skew some populousness where you've got creative people joining that field, you've got
right.
influencers joining that field, you've
Mhm.
got more entertainment journalists. I just think the nice thing is, when you ask different varieties of people and you get them together, you can get some nice variety of answers. Like there's a place for the People's Choice Awards. There's a place for the
Mhm.
MTV Movie Awards. There's a place for the Razzies. Like it's nice that you get people who come together and say, "Hey, stand together and go, what y'all like? What did we like?" People are starting to put the we on this more than the they on this.
Yeah.
And sometimes that pronoun switch right there to put some ownership on it, take pride in what you vote for, is helpful. And more groups are starting to be like, "Hey, we really think we do this right. Our integrity is here, our message is here, our hope is here." And then Chicago Shill. I got a group where we award best indie film and best
Mhm.
studio film. We separate them, like we go there. So I wish more did, we'll
Yeah.
get there.
We'll probably we'll
Oscar
eventually
so
get there.
white. Hashtag
Oscar's still white.
Oscar so non-pink. What's it? Oscar so orange. Oscar's
Oscar's
climax.
so orange.
Yeah,
Oscar's
what's
so
the color of
nuclear.
Oppenheimer? Orange? Is that
Oscar's
what's
so
on it?
nuclear.
Yeah, Oscar so nuclear. That'd be great. Where's the pink?
It's
Yeah,
so
I don't know, man.
radioactive. Where's the
Oh my
pig?
gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But thank you, Don,
You're
for
welcome.
this wonderful conversation. Hope our streamer, the folks who've tuned into our stream, have enjoyed this conversation, which they seem to have. Thank you for the comments.
Mhm.
Lovely input from all. And now I give, whether it's on the spoiler room or the final cut or
Oh,
whatever, I give my license to shill to my guests. So, Don, please shill away.
sure.
What you got?
Yeah, for those of you who've never seen me on Mark's show before, my name is Don Shanahan. I'm the editor-in-chief of Film Obsessive, a Divergent, nice little website where we're trying to do some film analysis and some longer form reviews, not just all clickbait. My home site that I've been running for coming up on 14 years here is Every Movie Has a Lesson. By day, I'm a school teacher. So I review movies with life lessons in mind, from the serious to the farcical, because that's kind of where my brain works. I'm also one of the co-hosts of the Cinephile His Fit podcast, sponsored by Film Obsessive, with my co-partner Will Johnson from Phoenix, and we yuck it up and have a good time where we just argue about movies. It's a chance for me to be a little less professional than I am in my writing work and just piss on a movie. So those are the 3 places you can find me. If you search Every Movie Has a Lesson or Film Obsessive or my name, Don Shanahan, on social media, you'll find it on X, Twitter, TikTok, things like that. The best TikTok man in the business is over here, so I can't compete with that. The Mad Minutes there are phenomenal. Can't compete with that. Can't compete with that. But I'll put some little hunky-dory category little oafish little ums and uhs TikTok stuff with the masters over to my screen left here. So yeah.
Thank you. It's probably the only thing I ever script are those, but
it rolls off your tongue. You make it sound good, man. I'm telling
thank you. My
Yeah.
family's probably tired of hearing me rehearse them about 80 million times before I actually record
Oh,
them. But,
I bet because if you flub it up, you're like, dang it, I gotta do it again,
well,
right? Yeah.
well, it's flubbing it up and picking the right words and everything. It's there's actually I've learned over the last doing 2.5 years of 1 minute reviews.
Yeah.
There's an art to the language and what you use and not use, and it's
Mhm.
actually been very fascinating learning experience and helped me in my longer form reviews. It has
Damn
quite a
straight.
bit.
Yeah.
So, but yes, TikTok, Special Mark Productions for my stuff, folks. You're here on YouTube. If not, tell your friends and have them. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers or more before
Come
the end
on.
of 2024. We are close. We are like one away from hitting 2,600 already. So I'm very excited to see where this year goes. We got a lot of stuff planned. SpecialMarkProductions.com. Check it out. Up on the YouTube going up this week will be 2 interviews that are on my podcast from last week. I did the director and 2 of the cast members from the slasher indie film Scalper. And I reviewed the director of a new indie film out on streaming starring Antonio Banderas and Alice Eve called Cult Killer.
Yeah.
Which is
get it.
actually a very exciting movie. You should check it out. Highly recommend it. It was
Someone
a fun.
needs to check Antonio Banderas' taxes because he's starting to do the Bruce Willis, Nicolas Cage school of
He's
I'm gonna
starting
take
to
every
do
role
it.
that sends me $1 in the script. So
Well,
I hope he's
well,
okay.
apparently-
Antonio, blink once if you're okay.
No, well, learning about how they got Antonio Banderas interviewing the
I
director,
hope that helps.
check that out. It's actually a very interesting story. And then this week, I'm interviewing an actor, Timothy J. Cox, who's been an indie actor for years. I'm getting to talk to him, and special effects artist for many indie films, Joe Castro. I'll be interviewing this week, so look for those to drop soon. And yeah, my late ISS Movie Man 1 minute review is up on TikTok. It'll be up on YouTube soon, where I talked about ISS for 1 minute. But if you want to hear a longer form conversation, Don Shanahan's buddy Will Johnson will be joining me, most likely, if he can see it, either Friday or Saturday. We're going to record for our Patreon exclusive episode. We're going to talk ISS. That should be a fun conversation. So lots of stuff
if
here.
you need a little help there, I've seen it. And it's good.
And you know, this is me cutting back this year, folks. I don't know. I do this.
That doesn't sound like cutting back because I'm going to stay here and go, I think I'm going to see this one movie and I think I can write it by Friday and maybe I'll review a disc. Like if I get to 2, I'm lucky. But
you've got quality versus quantity. But there you go.
We'll see about
but
that.
thank you so much for everyone for this extra long episode of the Final Cut Oscar 2024 edition. Look for a week before the Oscars for my predictions of I'll be solid because I'll be seeing more, which ones I will solidly commit to. And we will do a consequences show, and I will have my consequence movies watched from last year before that happens. I thought I did them. I didn't. So I'm going to do them in the next couple of weeks. But we are going to do another consequence show, which comes to you folks out there who might actually listen to this very long conversation. Give me your worst film of any year. What is so painful to watch. You think about it and you either get angry or your eyes bleed or
Tree of Life from 2011. Sight and Sound and Criterion be damned. That's my one.
Leave your suggestions, and those movies will be the pool of movies I pick from for my consequence films for however many I get wrong for the Oscars. So look for that list. Thank you so much, Don. And now until next time, folks, we'll say good night, everyone. And keep that